Chapter 727. Oh. Feng Yinyang raised his eyebrows. Setting up a formation in his own home. Wasn't that putting his life in Yan Chuan's hands? But looking at Yan Chuan again, Feng Yinyang took a deep breath and nodded. After all, his life was saved by Yan Chuan. Thank you. Yan Chuan nodded. 10 days later. Yinyang Hall. Feng Yinyang looked at Yan Chuan with a troubled expression. Was it the South Sect Master's order? Yan Chuan frowned. Feng Yinyang looked bitter and nodded. Yes. Master has gathered all the hall masters today. You know that although Master only has 8 disciples, there are more than 8 second-generation disciples. There are more than 200 of them. The gathering of 200 second-generation disciples is extremely grand. In the main hall, Master pointed you out personally, saying that you provoked the South Sect and wanted to take back the South Sect token as a warning to others. He also asked me to find you. Just because of what happened that day, the South Sect Master personally intervened. Yan Chuan frowned. I have already pleaded with Master. That was a bet, not a provocation. But Feng Yinyang was troubled. Yan Chuan smiled faintly and said, this Southern Sect token is nothing. Take it and report to your superiors first. Feng Yinyang nodded. Feng Shui Southern Sect, did anything strange happen during the opening of the road to the underworld? Yan Chuan was puzzled. No, there was one thing. A few years ago, Master suddenly sent invitations to all the major sects to attend the ceremony. All the middle sects in the South Divine Continent received one. Even the powerful lower sects received one too. He invited all the experts to attend the ceremony. Feng Yinyang said. Oh. That's normal. Feng Yinyang shook his head and said, no, my Feng Shui Southern Sect has always kept a low profile. Yan Chuan nodded his head, alright, let me know if there's anything big. Alright. Feng Yinyang nodded. After watching Feng Yinyang leave with the Nanzong Ling, Yan Chuan took a deep breath and walked slowly towards Meng Ziqiu's courtyard. Dean Meng, have you rested? Can we talk? Yan Chuan called out. However, no sound came from Meng Ziqiu's courtyard. Slightly curious, Yan Chuan stepped into Meng Ziqiu's courtyard. Meng Ziqiu was nowhere to be found in the courtyard. Meng Ziqiu was nowhere to be seen. Yan Chuan raised his eyebrows and left the courtyard. Huo Guang. Yan Chuan called Huo Guang over. Your Majesty. I asked you to watch over Meng Ziqiu's courtyard. Where is he? Yan Chuan frowned. We have been watching. Meng Ziqiu hasn't come out. Huo Guang said confidently. Hasn't come out. Meng Ziqiu is missing. Yan Chuan didn't doubt Huo Guang, but he trusted what he saw. Are the people watching Yinyang Peak still there? Yan Chuan asked. Yes, we'll pretend that we didn't see them. We can see some people around Yinyang Peak every day. Huo Guang said. Alright, continue pretending that you didn't see them. Yan Chuan said. Yes. After Huo Guang left, Yan Chuan frowned and fell into deep thought. Yinyang Peak was being watched. The day after he slapped Ming Lingtian 10 times, Yan Chuan discovered it. However, Yan Chuan kept pretending that he didn't see it. He just kept setting up formations in the surroundings. Today, he even took away his Nanzong Ling token. Originally, Yan Chuan thought that they were only targeting him. However, he discovered that Meng Ziqiu had disappeared. It seemed that he wasn't the only one being watched. Meng Ziqiu was also being watched. Meng Ziqiu also discovered that he was being watched. That was why he secretly left and came back. Chapter 728. Surveillance. Yan Chuan did not alert the enemy and restrained everyone from leaving Yinyang Peak. Every few days, Meng Ziqiu would appear. Every time, Meng Ziqiu would act as if nothing had happened. Yan Chuan did not ask any questions. Feng Yinyang also noticed the surveillance around Yinyang Peak. He thought that Ming Lingtian had found someone to target Yan Chuan. After teaching a few of them a lesson, he did not pay any more attention. After all, Feng Yinyang could see Yan Chuan's ability to set up formations. At the very least, these people could not hurt Yan Chuan. Feng Yinyang's disciples came and went every day, bringing a lot of news. 3 months later. One day, in Yinyang Hall. The experts of the various sects of southern divine continent have arrived. Hundreds of sects have gathered in the city. Yi said. Yan Chuan nodded. At this moment, Feng Yinyang stepped into the hall. Master. Yu Yi and the rest greeted respectfully. You may leave. Feng Yinyang said in a low voice. Yes. Everyone slowly retreated. Feng Yinyang sat down and drank tea with a complicated expression. What happened? Yan Chuan asked curiously. Strange. Feng Yinyang smiled bitterly. Oh. I told you before. My southern sect only gave out a few southern sect tokens. Yours was taken back by Master. Today, another one was taken back by Master. Feng Yinyang said with a bitter smile. Who is it? Yan Chuan frowned. A southern sect token from the Dazhao Holy Ground of East Divine Continent. Today, Dao Lord Yu Yu of the Dazhao Holy Ground led a group of Dazhao Holy Ground disciples here. Feng Yinyang said. Master and Dao Lord Yu Yu chatted alone for a period of time. For some reason, the two of them quarreled and parted on bad terms. Master even took back the southern sect token that was given to the Great Zhao Holy Ground and forced Dao Lord Yu Yu to leave with his men. Feng Yinyang recalled. Your master forced Dao Lord Yu Yu away. Yan Chuan said with a strange expression. The dazzling Holy Ground was the #1 sect in the world with 3 Dao Lords. It could be said that they were giving South Sect a lot of face by sending a Dao Lord here. He was actually chased away in the end. Originally, I didn't pay much attention to it. However, a few months ago, your suspicions caused me to keep it in mind. During this period of time, my South Sect has indeed been acting a little strange. Just like this time, the Dazhao Holy Ground is in the East Divine Continent, while my sect is in the South Divine Continent. Although it is beyond our reach, there is no need to form a grudge. But... Feng Yinyang frowned. Yan Chuan said, strange things like this might happen again. You should keep an eye on it. Also, if you have any Feng Shui friends in the sect, you should visit them more often. Feng Yinyang nodded. North of the Feng Shui southern sect, at the peak of a mountain. A group of figures dressed in gorgeous robes stood there. Leading them was Dao Lord Yu Yu. Outrageous. Dao Lord Yu Yu's expression was extremely ugly. Master, Li Kanglin doesn't know what's good for him. He actually took back the South Sect token. Since he wanted to take it back, why did he send it over back then? A Dao Lord of our dazzling holy ground came personally and he was so negligent. The disciples scolded, but Dao Lord Yu Yu gradually calmed down. No, something's wrong. Dao Lord Yu Yu suddenly narrowed his eyes. Master, what's wrong? Li Kanglin. Is he chasing me away? However, he didn't insult me. He just wants me to leave the South Divine Continent. Not participate in this Feng Shui festival. Dao Lord Yu Yu suddenly raised his brows. Previously, you invited my dazzling holy ground to attend the ceremony, but now you're not letting me attend? Feng Shui Southern Sect. Something must have happened. Dao Lord Yu Yu's expression darkened. Master is wise. Not letting me attend the ceremony? I want to watch. I want to see what the Feng Shui Southern Sect is up to this time. Dao Lord Yu Yu's expression darkened. Chapter 729. Yan Chuan vs. Li Canghai. Half a year later, in the Yin Yang Hall. Yan Chuan was drinking tea as he listened to Yu Yi's report on the situation in the South Sect. Hades Emperor, I went to investigate. Feng Shui masters go in and out of Li Canghai's residence every day. It's very mysterious. Yu Yi frowned. What about Ming Lingtian? Yan Chuan took a sip of tea and asked. Ming Lingtian? It's been very quiet during this period. He has no intention of seeking revenge. As for the 9 cities connected by the Big Dipper, other than your ravenous wolf, there has been no movement from the other cities. Yu Yi said. Since Li Canghai is so concerned about the will of the ravenous wolf star, did he ask Li Kanglan to arrange it again? Yan Chuan asked curiously. No. Yu Yi said. It's too quiet. Yan Chuan took a deep breath and frowned. All the news seemed to be too calm, but Yan Chuan could feel the turbulence within. As Yan Chuan frowned and pondered, Feng Yinyang walked into the hall again. Feng Yinyang's expression was complicated again. Another sect has been driven away. Yan Chuan looked at Feng Yinyang. Feng Yinyang nodded. Yes. Just now, a disciple of the Archaean sacred ground came to watch the ceremony with the South Sect token. Once again, he was driven away by Master. People from the 3 great academies were driven away. People from the 3 great holy lands were driven away. Even people from the northern sect were driven away. These are the strongest forces in the world. All of them were driven away. Does your South Sect want to be the enemy of the world? Yan Chuan looked at Feng Yinyang strangely. Feng Yinyang's expression was bitter. He shook his head and said, I don't know. I talked to Master, but he ignored me. What is your master trying to do? Yan Chuan's eyes flashed with a complicated look. Feng Yinyang said with a frown, I'm not sure. The strongest factions have all been driven away, leaving only the middle-tier factions of the South faction. Hee, I can't tell what Master is planning. Did you visit your fellow apprentice brothers? Yan Chuan looked at Feng Yinyang. Yes, but most people don't know what's going on. Feng Yinyang shook his head. The Feng Shui ceremony is coming. Everything is about to be revealed. Yan Chuan took a deep breath and said. N. Feng Yinyang nodded. Another month passed. One night, Yan Chuan came to Meng Ziqiu's courtyard. When they entered the courtyard, Meng Ziqiu was no longer there. Yan Chuan smiled bitterly. It seems that Meng Ziqiu knows the reason. Unfortunately, Meng Ziqiu is too tight-lipped. Yan Chuan sighed softly and walked out of Meng Ziqiu's courtyard. The instant Xiao Chen walked out of Meng Ziqiu's courtyard, suddenly, a loud sound came from the South Faction's mountain range. Hong! A massive boom rang out, causing the earth to tremble all of a sudden. Huh! Yan Chuan's expression changed. He soared into the sky and looked into the distance. White light. Boundless white light soared into the sky and into the 9 firmaments. Righteous energy. Yan Chuan's expression changed. Meng Ziqiu, you are seeking death. Boom. Another loud sound came from the white light. Roar. Roar. In an instant, the 100 dragons roared, and the dragon veins of the earth were drawn out from all directions, crashing into the overwhelming vital energy. Rumble. The intense light illuminated the entire sky. The dazzling light caused countless cultivators to be unable to open their eyes for a while. Roar. Roar. Chapter 730. One by one, the dragon veins crashed into the center. They couldn't see anyone, but they could feel the impact. At this moment, countless cultivators in the mountains around the southern sect were alarmed. Many feng shui masters walked out of their caves and looked at the sky. Die! With another roar, the center of the white light exploded. Boom! Under the magnificent explosion, countless rays of light shot out in all directions. Whoosh! One of them headed straight for Yinyang Peak. Yan Chuan flew into the sky, followed by Feng Yinyang, Huo Guang, and the others. They all flew into the sky and looked into the distance. That's Li Canghai's residence, Feng Yinyang said. In the distance, one of the white lights was already approaching Yinyang Peak. Yan Chuan's pupils constricted as he waved his sleeves. Instantly, a force buffered the white light. Bam! Yan Chuan grabbed the person in the white light. Meng Ziqiu! Feng Yinyang exclaimed. At this moment, a large number of cultivators flew into the sky from Li Canghai's residence. Li Canghai was at the front. Search! Li Canghai shouted. Yes! Boom! A large number of xiuzhe scattered in all directions. Yan Chuan landed quickly with Meng Ziqiu in tow. At this moment, a sharp-eyed cultivator in the distance saw Meng Ziqiu. Over there. Yinyang Peak! Someone exclaimed. Li Canghai immediately turned around. Let's go! Rumble! Li Canghai flew toward Yinyang Peak with 50 cultivators. As Li Canghai flew over, the Feng Shui masters in the southern sect also flew over and gathered at Yinyang Peak. Feng Yinyang's face darkened. He frowned at the experts gathering from all directions. Yan Chuan was holding Meng Ziqiu back. Meng Ziqiu trembled as if he was about to die. Sect Master Meng, what's wrong? What happened? Yan Chuan anxiously held Meng Ziqiu. Yan Chuan! A loud shout suddenly rang out from the void. Li Canghai appeared in front of the Yinyang Palace with 50 cultivators in an aggressive manner. Who? A gust of wind blew by as Li Canghai approached Yan Chuan. Headmaster Canghai, what are you doing? Feng Yinyang immediately stood in front of Yan Chuan. Half of the people behind Li Canghai were Confucian cultivators, while the other half were dressed as Southern sect Feng Shui masters. Ming Lingtian was among them. Feng Yinyang, get out of the way. Meng Ziqiu has wild ambitions. He stole the secrets of the Southern sect and assassinated the Blue Sea Academy head. He deserves death. Ming Lingtian shouted. Stealing the secrets of the Southern sect. Meng Ziqiu was Master's best friend. How could he do such a thing? Assassinate the headmaster of Canghai Academy? I think that Canghai Academy master is much better than Meng Ziqiu. Feng Yinyang naturally wouldn't give in. In that case, don't blame me for being merciless. Take him down. Li Canghai shouted. Who dares? Feng Yinyang shouted. At this moment, more and more people gathered from all directions. Li Canghai, your master's younger brother. That's why we respect you. However, this is the southern sect of Feng Shui, not the Yushan Academy. You can't do whatever you want here. Feng Yinyang shouted. Ming Lingtian shouted, Feng Yinyang, how dare you disrespect the Canghai Academy head? Feng Yinyang shook his head. I'm not being disrespectful, but this is the southern sect of Feng Shui, not the Yushan Academy. Ming Lingtian, are you trying to betray your sect? You! Ming Lingtian glared. Then arrest Meng Ziqiu and Yan Chuan. Ming Lingtian said to the group of Feng Shui masters. Chapter 731. The Feng Shui masters were about to step forward. I said, don't touch him. Feng Yinyang shouted. The Feng Shui masters paused. They were in a difficult position. Both of them were second-generation disciples, and both of them had connections within the sect. They did not know who to listen to. Fine. Feng Yinyang, are you going to protect these outsiders? Li Canghai said coldly. Outsiders? You're also an outsider. Only Feng Shui masters are part of the southern Feng Shui sect. Feng Yinyang said coldly. The feng shui masters nodded. Indeed. What's the matter, Headmaster Canghai? Meng Ziqiu tried to assassinate Headmaster Canghai. What's going on? Curious voices could be heard all around. On the other side, Yan Chuan quickly fed Meng Ziqiu a pill. Meng Ziqiu trembled and gradually regained consciousness. Li Canghai's expression changed when he saw that Meng Ziqiu had regained consciousness. Feng Yinyang, since you're using the southern feng shui sect's rules, then so be it. This is a private matter between me and Meng Ziqiu. We're all outsiders. None of you feng shui masters are allowed to interfere. Li Canghai shouted. Feng Yinyang raised an eyebrow. What do you want, Headmaster Canghai? Feng Yinyang frowned. He did not want the feng shui masters to interfere. If Feng Yinyang interfered, Ming Lingtian would definitely stop him. I want to take Meng Ziqiu away. This man tried to assassinate me. No one is allowed to interfere. Li Canghai shouted. The feng shui masters frowned. No one can take Meng Ziqiu away as long as I'm here. Yan Chuan's voice suddenly rang out. How could Yan Chuan stand by and do nothing when he felt guilty about Meng Rongrong and was determined to get Mr. Monroe? More and more people gathered around. Huo Guang dragged Meng Ziqiu away. Yan Chuan stood up and looked coldly at Li Canghai. Yan Chuan. Just based on the fact that you're at the second level of the deity realm, you want to stop me? Li Canghai said disdainfully. So what if I stop you? Compared to Li Kanglin, you are far inferior. Yan Chuan said coldly. If that's the case, then don't blame me for being merciless. Take him down. Li Kanglin pointed at Yan Chuan. Suddenly, the 20 or so Confucian cultivators behind Li Kanglin rushed toward Yan Chuan. Swish! The Jade Emperor's sword suddenly shot out. Boom! Endless sword qi suddenly erupted from all directions and rushed towards the 20 or so Confucian cultivators. CI. Tens of thousands of swords shot out in unison, and a storm of swords suddenly swept towards the 20-some Confucian cultivators. Rumble. It was too fast, so fast that in the blink of an eye, more than 20 Confucian cultivators were sent flying backward with broken arms. Yushan Academy is just so. Yan Chuan said coldly. Bastard. Li Canghai's eyes flashed with anger. He took out a brush and swung it at Yan Chuan. Xing! A white sword qi appeared in the void and slashed at Yan Chuan. Overwhelming righteousness sword. You are still lacking. Yan Chuan said coldly. Yin Yang stellar formation. Yan Chuan shouted. Boom! Endless sword qi suddenly rose from the surroundings of Yin Yang Peak and formed a huge storm. The sword qi in the sword formation was half pure black and half pure white. In the blink of an eye, it enveloped Li Canghai. Jade Emperor's sword. God's sword. All of them flew out to control the Yin Yang stellar formation. The huge formation startled the surrounding feng shui masters. What a powerful formation. Was it set up long ago? Why did Feng Yinyang let an outsider set up the formation? If the outsider harbored evil intentions, Feng Yinyang would lose control of his own life. Exclamations came from all around. Li Canghai and Yan Chuan were surrounded by the sword formation. Chapter 732. Within the Yin Yang stellar formation, Yan Chuan was battling Li Canghai. Li Canghai utilized his brush to draw numerous white-colored swords of righteousness. Unfortunately, all the swords of righteousness were crushed into pieces by the grand formation. Heaven Sword. Yan Chuan made a move towards the sky. Boom boom boom. Suddenly, an enormous astral sword appeared above Li Canghai's head and pressed down on him with a mighty aura. A stroke of mountains and rivers. Li Canghai waved his brush at the sky. A white light in the shape of a large river crashed into the huge sword energy in the sky. Boom! The two forces exploded with a bang. The heavenly sword and a stroke of mountains and rivers cancelled each other out. Sword, sword, heavenly sword. Yan Chuan stretched out his hand. Buzz! The sword chi within the formation grew larger and larger. In the blink of an eye, it had transformed into tens of thousands of heavenly swords that shot toward Li Canghai. Heaven sword piercing cold, 10,000 swords returned to origin. Bastard, this is a heaven-grade array. How could he have reached the heaven stage? Li Canghai exclaimed. Buzz! Several brushes suddenly appeared around Li Canghai, blocking his path. His figure fled towards the outside of the formation. Third level of the middle void stage. It's too late. Yan Chuan's eyes turned cold. 10,000 heavenly swords crashed into Li Canghai's defense. Hong! Within the formation, a dazzling white light burst out, shooting straight up into the sky. Just like how Meng Ziqiu was heavily injured earlier, he was bombarded by a huge force. Meng Ziqiu had been severely injured by Li Canghai and a group of feng shui masters. Li Canghai, on the other hand, had been heavily injured by Yan Chuan's array of spiritual stones. That attack had cost Yan Chuan at least 5,000 high-grade spiritual stones. Boom! The array shook, and a figure rushed out of the array with great difficulty. It was Li Canghai. After all, Li Canghai was at the middle void stage. Although he could not withstand the power of the formation, he could still escape. Unfortunately, by the time he escaped, he was already in a sorry state. His elegant robe was now in tatters. Headmaster Canghai, are you all right? Ming Ling Tian immediately caught Li Canghai. Pooh! Li Canghai spat out a mouthful of blood, his face deathly pale. His hair was disheveled, and he looked extremely disheveled. Turning his head, Li Canghai looked in the direction of the grand array with bloodshot eyes. Within the formation, countless sword chis surrounded Yan Chuan and gradually faded away, revealing a completely unharmed Yan Chuan. It was obvious that Li Canghai had lost this round. Yan Chuan. Li Canghai's eyes turned cold. I said that no one can touch Meng Ziqiu. Yan Chuan said coldly. He looked at Yan Chuan with a gloomy face. He had told the feng shui master not to intervene, but he couldn't do anything to Yan Chuan. Ming Ling Tian, let's go, Li Canghai said hatefully, clutching his chest. Take me to your sect leader and my brother. The rest of you, keep an eye on Meng Ziqiu. Yes. The group of Confucian cultivators replied. Some of the feng shui masters left with Li Canghai, but most of them stayed around Yinyang Peak. After all, the battle was not over yet. Yan Chuan ignored the gazes around him. He retracted the formation, walked quickly to Meng Ziqiu, and supported him. Although Meng Ziqiu was awake, his entire body was trembling. How is he? Yan Chuan looked at Feng Yinyang. Headmaster Meng's soul might have been shattered by the dragon vein of the 20 feng shui masters. He can only stay awake for a short while with the help of the dying pill. He can't be saved. Feng Yinyang shook his head. What? How is that possible? Yan Chuan immediately placed his hand on Meng Ziqiu's back to check. Chapter 733. Meng Ziqiu grabbed Yan Chuan's hand and shook his head. It's no use. I can't save her. Yan Chuan's face became more and more gloomy. Countless eyes were fixed on them. All the Confucian cultivators stared at them. Emperor of Hell, before I die, there are two things that I can't let go of. Please. Meng Ziqiu looked defeated. After checking, Yan Chuan also knew that Meng Ziqiu couldn't save her. Go ahead. Yan Chuan nodded. Meng Ziqiu smiled bitterly and said, I can see Rongrong's thoughts. That girl is stubborn. Sometimes, she can't change her mind. With such a character, it's best for Taoism. Unfortunately, Taoism isn't as simple as that in this world. I hope you can understand her in the future. As soon as Meng Ziqiu said this, Yan Chuan immediately understood. Obviously, Meng Ziqiu knew about the matter between him and Meng Rongrong. Taking a deep breath, Yan Chuan nodded and said, "Don't worry. I'll deal with it properly. Meng Rongrong, I won't let anyone hurt her." Meng Ziqiu closed his eyes with satisfaction. "Also, help me pass a message to Wen Ruo." Meng Ziqiu's eyes showed a trace of bitterness. "Go ahead. Wen Ruo is a poor child. Tell him, father is sorry for him." Meng Ziqiu said bitterly with a teardrop in his eyes. "I will." Yan Chuan said affirmatively. "Thank you." Meng Ziqiu forced a smile on his bitter face. "Fengshui Southern Sect is a place of trouble. You'd better leave as soon as possible." Meng Ziqiu said the last sentence, and his voice became weaker and weaker. In the end, Meng Ziqiu suddenly went limp and no longer made a sound. "Dean Meng." Yan Chuan called in a deep voice. But at this moment, Meng Ziqiu didn't make a sound. There was a moment of silence. Everyone was silent, but the 20 or so Confucian cultivators of the Yushan Academy secretly sighed. It was as if he was rejoicing. Yan Chuan held Meng Ziqiu's hand. In his palm, Yan Chuan could feel what Meng Ziqiu had secretly given him before his death. "Huo Guang, prepare a coffin," Yan Chuan said in a deep voice. "Yes." Soon, Huo Guang took out a huge piece of jade from a flying boat not far away. With a wave of his hand, the jade was quickly cut open. In the blink of an eye, a coffin appeared. Gently placing Meng Ziqiu's body in the coffin, Yan Chuan quietly hid the thing that Meng Ziqiu had given him before his death. "Greetings, sect leader." "Greetings, master." Countless geomancers suddenly bowed in a certain direction. Yan Chuan put Meng Ziqiu down and turned his head. In the distance, he saw a black-robed figure slowly flying over. Behind the black-robed figure was a group of geomancers, including Ming Ling Tian. The black-robed man in the lead exuded a faint black aura, giving off a gloomy aura. Before he even arrived, the aura of death had already caused the surrounding temperature to drop by half. The black-robed figure wore a black hat, so his face couldn't be seen clearly. However, everyone knew what kind of face was under the hat. "Master." Feng Yinyang greeted the black-robed figure respectfully. It was Li Kanglin, the sect leader of the South School of Feng Shui. Li Kanglin didn't speak. He slowly walked toward the coffin. Although he didn't say a word, he was still the center of attention. He walked over slowly, but Yan Chuan frowned and looked at him. "Master, Senior Meng Ziqiu has already passed away," Feng Yinyang said in a low voice. Li Kanglin walked toward the coffin. Yan Chuan frowned and stopped him. Chapter 734. Hades Emperor, Meng Ziqiu is my master's best friend. Feng Yinyang tried to persuade Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan nodded and slowly backed away. Li Kanglin reached out to touch Meng Ziqiu. "What happened just now?" Immediately, a few Feng Shui masters came out and recounted everything that had happened. Li Kanglin listened to their narration and examined Meng Ziqiu. He sighed when he was sure that Meng Ziqiu was truly dead. Yan Chuan looked on coldly. He kept feeling that something was wrong. After confirming Meng Ziqiu's death, Li Kanglin turned to Yan Chuan. "Men, arrest Yan Chuan," Li Kanglin ordered. "Yes, sir." Boom. Almost 1,000 Feng Shui masters stepped forward, especially Ming Ling Tian. He waved his sleeves and summoned streams of draconic qi from the ground. All of the Feng Shui masters looked at Yan Chuan. Li Kanglin was the sect master. All of the Feng Shui masters here listened to him. The Feng Shui masters did not know what was going on, but they had to obey the sect master's orders. Almost 1,000 Feng Shui masters closed in. "Wait!" Suddenly, someone shouted. The feng shui masters paused and looked at Feng Yinyang. Feng Yinyang suddenly stood in front of Yan Chuan and said, Master, Yan Chuan has contributed greatly to the sky-burying coffin in this feng shui ceremony. Ming Lingtian sneered. Feng Yinyang, get out of the way. Do you want to make an enemy out of your master for an outsider? Ming Lingtian was intentionally trying to sow discord, and the feng shui masters all around could naturally hear that. Why is that, master? Feng Yinyang asked anxiously. Li Kanglin looked at Feng Yinyang and said, This has nothing to do with you, Yinyang. Get out of the way. Yan Chuan is trying to disrupt our ceremony. Li Tsanghai has already informed me. Get out of the way. No, master. Yan Chuan has never left Yinyang Peak. He never wanted to disturb the feng shui ceremony. It's all Li Tsanghai's side of the story, master. Feng Yinyang said anxiously. How dare you? Li Kanglin shouted coldly. Master, I don't know what Li Tsanghai said to you, but I, Feng Yinyang, swear on my life that Yan Chuan has no intention of disrupting the feng shui ceremony. Master, if you don't like Yan Chuan, just expel him from the South School. Feng Yinyang Jiaohu said. Unfilial disciple. Li Kanglin was enraged. Master, please spare Yan Chuan for the sake of our relationship. Feng Yinyang fell to his knees. Yan Chuan remained silent. He frowned and looked at the feng shui masters around him. Good, good, good. I've taken in an unfilial disciple. Today, I'll take you in. Li Kanglin said coldly. Li Kanglin stretched out his hand and was about to hit him. Feng Yinyang knelt on the ground in pain, not daring to say a word. Sect master, you can't. Feng Yinyang didn't do anything wrong. A feng shui master suddenly cried out. Sect master, Feng Yinyang has made countless contributions to the school. Please retract your order. Sect master, Feng Yinyang was just muddle-headed. Please retract your order. Please retract your order, sect master. Countless feng shui masters begged for mercy for Feng Yinyang. As more and more people begged for mercy, more and more people joined in. In the blink of an eye, more than half of them were begging for mercy for Feng Yinyang. Ming Lingtian's face was extremely ugly. Li Kanglin, on the other hand, was silent. Li Kanglin only managed to suppress his anger when most of the feng shui masters begged for mercy. Looking at Feng Yinyang, Li Kanglin said in a low voice, I didn't expect this, Feng Yinyang. I've underestimated you. Although Li Kanglin did not finish his sentence, his meaning was clear. He was saying that Feng Yinyang was blinded by his desire for power and incited his disciples to overthrow his authority. Master, I didn't. Feng Yinyang said anxiously. Say no more. Li Kanglin shouted. I can let you go, but from now on, you, Feng Yinyang, are no longer a disciple of the South faction. From now on, you and I are no longer master and disciple. Li Kanglin's voice was filled with determination. No, master. You've brought me up. I haven't fulfilled my filial piety. Master. Feng Yinyang kowtowed and begged Li Kanglin to retract his order. 10 palaces of the left, escort them out of the South faction. Li Kanglin shouted. Yes. Ming Lingtian and the other feng shui masters shouted. Master. Master. Feng Yinyang cried as if the whole world had collapsed. Li Kanglin swung his sleeves and left with a group of people. Master. Chapter 735. On the steel airship. Feng Yinyang was still in a daze. Yan Chuan stood at the stern of the airship, looking coldly at the 300 feng shui masters who were escorting him. The leader, Ming Lingtian, sneered at the dazed Feng Yinyang. Feng Yinyang, you and I have fought for a lifetime, but you lost in the end. Ha 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 ha. Ming Lingtian laughed wildly. But Feng Yinyang was not in the mood to argue with Ming Lingtian. Being cut off by his master was worse than killing Feng Yinyang. At this moment, there was no sorrow greater than a dead heart. Yan Chuan did not try to persuade him. He was only guarding against the feng shui masters. Until they left Nanzong territory. The 300 feng shui masters left. Yan Chuan looked at Feng Yinyang. Feng Yinyang's face was still ugly. The disciples behind him were also expelled. At this moment, he did not know how to comfort his master. The atmosphere was extremely gloomy. Your Majesty, what should we do now? Huo Guang frowned. Continue to the north. Yan Chuan said in a low voice. Yes. The soldiers steered the airship. Yan Chuan took out a ball of paper. Meng Ziqiu gave it to Yan Chuan before his death. He gently unfolded it. Suddenly, a small ball was revealed. Sealed in the small ball was a wisp of greenish-red liquid. Holding the small ball, Yan Chuan looked at the paper ball in his hand. Meng Ziqiu's handwriting was on it. Today, I am going to Li Canghai's residence. This is what I wrote before I left. If there is a disaster, I hope it will fall into the hands of Yan Chuan or Feng Yinyang. The first sentence made Yan Chuan raise his eyebrows. Meng Ziqiu knew that he might be in danger. I don't know if you still remember that last time when Yan Chuan and Li Canghai gambled, I vouched for Li Canghai and asked Li Canghai a question. I asked, did Li Kanglan give the letter to Li Canghai? Ha, there was no letter at all. Li Kanglan is my best friend, and I know a lot of his habits and habits. But this time, I realized that this Li Kanglan is no longer the same Li Kanglan. The leader of the South faction, Li Kanglan, had disappeared. Yan Chuan raised his eyebrows. Feng Yinyang calmed himself down and looked over. Mr. Feng, you don't have to blame yourself. The Li Kanglan from before might not be your master. Yan Chuan said in a deep voice. Impossible, I can recognize master's aura. Feng Yinyang bitterly shook his head. Yan Chuan continued reading the letter. Li Kanglan is no longer in the southern sect. I secretly went to Li Kanglan's residence and discovered that the person living in the sect leader's mansion was not Li Kanglan, but Li Canghai. It was Li Canghai. Li Canghai was pretending to be Li Kanglan. Seeing this, Yan Chuan's eyes suddenly narrowed. The previous person was Li Canghai. Indeed, Li Canghai and Li Kanglan had never appeared together. Even when he was chasing Meng Ziqiu and fighting with Li Canghai, Li Kanglan had not appeared. Li Canghai had left and did not return, but Li Kanglan had returned. Li Canghai took over the magpie's nest and pretended to be Li Kanglan. However, Li Kanglan should not be dead yet. If you want to, go find him. I think Li Kanglan should be imprisoned. I don't know how he was captured, but since he was captured, he must be hidden somewhere. That day, I lied to Li Canghai with a fabricated letter. It was all to trick him into asking Li Kanglan about it. Chapter 736. If he did, Li Kanglan would know my intentions. He would mix his blood with the soul fragments and place them on Li Canghai's clothes. With Feng Yinyang's attainments in feng shui, he would be able to find Li Kanglan and save him. Today, I will take back what Li Kanglan gave me. Whether it succeeds or not depends on the will of the heavens. Yan Chuan immediately understood why Meng Ziqiu had been appearing and disappearing so mysteriously. So it was to save Li Kanglan. He continued to read. In the end, if you can't save Li Kanglan, you should leave. I've heard that the southern feng shui sect isn't just opening up the road to the Yellow Springs. It's not just that. Li Canghai is too ambitious, or there are other reasons I don't know. Not only do they want to open up the road to the Yellow Springs, but they also want to use the sky-burying coffin to open the door to the world of immortals. They want to break open the world of immortals. Calamity will follow. You're on your own. Hiss. Yan Chuan gasped. Road to the Yellow Springs. Break open the world of immortals. Yan Chuan's brows furrowed. What's wrong, Hades Emperor? Feng Yinyang asked, puzzled. Yan Chuan handed the letter to Feng Yinyang. Feng Yinyang quickly skimmed through it. Impossible. How is this possible? Feng Yinyang exclaimed. Li Canghai expelled you not because of your disobedience, but because he didn't want you to ruin his plans. Yan Chuan said in a low voice. Feng Yinyang's expression changed. Meng Ziqiu exchanged his life for this. It's your master's blood and soul fragments. If you're willing to believe it, use it to point to your master's location. We'll go with you to save Li Kanglan. Yan Chuan said with certainty. Biting his lips, Feng Yinyang's uncertainty turned into a raging fire. His master was Feng Yinyang's closest person. Now, he was imprisoned. All right, give it to me. Feng Yinyang said with a gloomy expression. He took out a compass and placed Li Kanglan's blood and soul fragments into it. Immediately, the compass began to spin rapidly. Rumble. Over there. Feng Yinyang pointed in a direction. 3 months later, the flying boat was still flying at high speed. Feng Yinyang stared at the compass with a complicated expression. Soon, we're close. Feng Yinyang said in a low voice. What is that place? Yan Chuan frowned as he looked into the distance. That's Li Canghai from the Yueshan Academy. He imprisoned my master in the Yueshan Academy. Feng Yinyang's face was extremely grim. The flying ship stopped in the distance. Standing outside a large city, Yan Chuan looked into the distance and saw countless strands of fate churning in the air. Just like the Jiulu Academy, it was a vast city with a sea of fate clouds above it. However, the Jiulu Academy had 5 golden dragons above the sea of fate clouds. The Yueshan Academy, on the other hand, only had 3 golden dragons. The group naturally knew how to conceal themselves. Leaving a few people outside the city to stand guard, Yan Chuan and Feng Yinyang quickly made their way into the city. Thank you for your time, Hades Emperor. I can see that you want to stop Li Canghai's feng shui ceremony. Feng Yinyang said in a low voice. Yan Chuan smiled wryly and nodded. That's right. Great Zhen isn't strong enough yet. Right now, I really don't want to break open the world gate. If the world of immortals invades our world, the world will fall into chaos. Great Zhen is still too weak. Then why did you? Feng Yinyang frowned. Because I think it's more important to save your master. Yan Chuan said with certainty. Thank you. If we can save my master and stop Li Canghai's scheme, I will ask my master to join Great Zhen for 100 years and set up thousands of feng shui formations for you. Feng Yinyang said sincerely. With Mr. Feng's help, Great Zhen will have nothing to fear even if we have to face thousands of heroes from the world of immortals. Yan Chuan laughed. You flatter me, Hades Emperor. Feng Yinyang said, a little embarrassed. I'm telling the truth. Let's go and save your master first. Yan Chuan said with a smile. Feng Yinyang nodded. Yan Chuan had seen Feng Yinyang's feng shui skills. They were about the same as Zhen Rou's in his previous life. But even with such powerful feng shui skills, he hadn't received the true teachings of the South School of Feng Shui. According to the South School's rules, the true teachings could only be passed down to one person per generation. Feng Yinyang's feng shui skills were so powerful, but he hadn't received the true teachings. How powerful was Li Kanglan? Yan Chuan's eyes were filled with anticipation. Who's there? Xing. The Jade Emperor's sword instantly killed a Confucian cultivator. Feng Yinyang grabbed the compass and walked step by step toward the mountain range in the city. They walked to the center of the mountain range. They stood in a hidden corner and looked coldly at the valley. 30 Confucian cultivators sat in the valley, each speaking in the language of the saints. streams of righteous energy flowed into a cave in the valley. There were also dozens of Confucian guards around them. They were patrolling the area. I'll kill all the Confucian cultivators, and you'll set up the formations. Yan Chuan said in a low voice. The two split up, and Yan Chuan shot into the forest. Yan Chuan seemed to have turned into a ghost, drifting unpredictably. Who's there? One of the Confucian cultivators seemed to be on guard. Xing. The Confucian cultivator's throat was instantly cut open. It seems that Li Canghai has transferred all the experts of the Yushan Academy to the southern Feng Shui sect. Yan Chuan was surprised to see that he could easily kill a Confucian cultivator. Sure. Yan Chuan usually didn't bother to assassinate people personally. However, this time, he had no choice but to be an assassin for the sake of Great Jin's prosperity. In the blink of an eye, all the guards fell to the ground. Fog rose around the valley, and the valley gradually became blurry. Clearly, Feng Yinyang's feng shui formation was working. What's going on? The Confucian cultivators sitting on the ground were shocked. Boom! A large amount of sword qi descended from the sky and killed all the Confucian cultivators. Yan Chuan and Feng Yinyang gathered at the entrance of the cave. Master is inside. Feng Yinyang looked at the compass and said in a low voice. The two of them looked at the entrance of the cave and stepped in. This was a cave that led to the depths of the earth. As they stepped in, a large amount of providence slowly spread out. Clearly, the Confucian cultivators had used righteous energy to spread the providence inside. The deeper they went, the more providence there was. Yan Chuan's expression became more serious. Providence? Who else in the world could control it like that other than him? Soon, the two of them reached the depths of the earth. Here, the providence was extremely dense. Yin Yang. Yin Yang, you're here, my good disciple. An excited voice came from the depths of the earth. Master. Feng Yinyang ran in excitedly. Chapter 737. Yan Chuan and Feng Yinyang rushed into the cave. Feng Yinyang's face was full of excitement, but the moment he rushed into the cave, his body suddenly stopped. Yan Chuan also stopped and raised his eyebrows. Disciple, come here. Li Kanglan's voice came from the cave again. Master, why are you like this? Feng Yinyang's voice suddenly became hoarse. At the center of the cave was Li Kanglan. However, Li Kanglan's eyes had been gouged out, leaving only 2 bloody holes. His hands were chopped off and his knees were gouged out. 9 huge hooks pierced through Li Kanglan's body and hung him on his knees. Boundless luck shrouded the interior of the cave. It was to draw in the golden dragon of luck from the outside world. The golden dragon of luck's claws seemed to have shrunk many times and appeared in the cave. 9 dragon claws clasped Li Kanglan's spine. Master, how could this be? How could this be? Feng Yinyang rushed over with a sorrowful voice. He reached out and was about to cut off everything to save Li Kanglan. Don't move, don't move. Li Kanglan suddenly shouted. Master! Feng Yinyang sobbed. I'm already satisfied that I was able to wait until you came. Yin Yang, how did you find me? Also, who's behind you? Why is the dragon qi so abundant? Li Kanglan asked in confusion. My name is Yan Chuan, the ruler of the Great Jin dynasty. Yan Chuan said. Dragon qi. Li Kanglan's eyes had been dug out, but he could still see the dragon aura on him. One had to know that in his previous life, even the strongest feng shui master in the Celestial Empire could not see it. Yan Chuan. So you are Yan Chuan. Li Kanglan nodded. He didn't say anything else. Yin Yang, how did you find us? Li Kanglan asked Feng Yinyang again. Feng Yinyang quickly explained what had happened. Meng Ziqiu. Sigh. This old man has let him down. Yin Yang, if possible, please take care of Meng Ziqiu's children. Li Kanglin said solemnly. Yes, disciple will definitely follow master's instructions. But master, the south school has been occupied by Li Canghai. Now. Feng Yinyang said anxiously. Southern sect. Even if the southern sect is destroyed, it doesn't matter. Our fengshui southern sect cultivates fengshui, not merit. Each sect only has one true disciple. As long as the true disciple is alive, the sect will not be destroyed. Yes, but master, what's going on? Why would Li Canghai attack you? Feng Yinyang asked doubtfully. Li Canghai is a wolf with wild ambitions. Everyone was deceived by him. Otherwise, how could I have suffered such a calamity? Li Kanglin said with hatred. Why would he do that? You are brothers. Feng Yinyang was puzzled. Brothers? Ha ha ha, you're mistaken. Li Canghai's plan started when he was still in his mother's womb. He started planning even before he and I were born. He's not from this world. Li Kanglin said hatefully. Did he reincarnate in the netherworld? No, not the netherworld. The structure of the netherworld is similar to the Yang realm. Li Canghai is not from the netherworld, but the outside world, the immortal realm you speak of. He's a powerhouse from the immortal realm. I don't know what secret method he used to reincarnate into our world. He reincarnated into my mother's womb. He doesn't recognize this life, only the previous one. Immortal realm? He came down from the immortal realm. Why did he come down? Feng Yinyang was puzzled. He wants to break open the gate to our world and let a powerhouse from the immortal realm, no, an emperor, come in. Unlike an immortal, he wants to open a gate and let the emperor and his kingdom invade our world. Li Kanglin said solemnly. Chapter 738. A full-scale invasion. Yan Chuan raised an eyebrow. Why? Everyone wants to ascend to the immortal realm. Why would the emperor enter our mortal realm? Feng Yinyang was confused. Immortal realm? Mortal realm? Ha ha ha, there is no such thing as the immortal realm or the mortal realm in this world. There is only one world, the most fundamental world. Our mortal realm used to be part of the immortal realm in the past. Later, Goddess Xichen used her power to seal this area, Li Kanglin explained. Our place was originally a part of the immortal realm. Was it sealed? Sealed a world? Goddess Xichen? Feng Yinyang exclaimed. In the ancient times, there was a great calamity. The heavens died and the heavenly Tao collapsed. The entire world was on the verge of destruction. All the experts and heroes of the world died in that calamity. Goddess Xichen sacrificed herself to save the world. However, Goddess Xichen wasn't certain that her sacrifice would save the world. Therefore, before she sacrificed herself, she sealed 5 regions to preserve the world's fire. For the sake of our world, we won't be completely exhausted. Li Kanglin sighed. 5 regions? Our world is one of them. Feng Yinyang asked. That's right. Now you know why the emperor entered this world, right? Li Kanglin said bitterly. For Goddess Xichen's Tao seal. Feng Yinyang's expression changed. As expected of my disciple, ha 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 ha. Li Kanglin laughed loudly. Master, how do you know? Could it be that our lineage is connected to the ancient times? Feng Yinyang asked curiously. Connected to the ancient times? No, when the great calamity happened, our lineage hadn't yet appeared. We were only born later. Our lineage had a powerful enemy, so we escaped to this world, Li Kanglin explained. Enemy? Yes, the enemy is very strong. Maybe I won't be able to take revenge in this lifetime. Li Kanglin sighed. Li Kanglin sighed. Before we entered this world, Goddess Xichen had sealed 5 regions. 3 of them had already been broken and their seals had been stolen. At that time, there were only 2 left. This is one of them. I don't know if the last one is still there. What about the northern sect? Does the Feng Shui northern sect have anything to do with my Feng Shui southern sect? Feng Yinyang asked, puzzled. Feng Shui northern sect. Actually, the Feng Shui northern sect and my Feng Shui southern sect were originally from the same lineage, but we split into 2. I only received half of the inheritance, and the other half is in the hands of the northern sect. Fortunately, the northern sect's sect master is like me, and understands the rules. He also only passes the inheritance to 1 person per generation. If you have the chance in the future, go and get the other half of the inheritance. Li Kanglin sighed. Yes. Feng Yinyang nodded. But master, how could Li Canghai have broken into our world? Why didn't you notice it in the beginning? Feng Yinyang asked. Why? It's because of the sky-burying coffin. Li Kanglin said bitterly. Yan Chuan's expression changed, and he looked at Li Kanglin in surprise. At first, I thought that the sky-burying coffin was just an immortal artifact. Li Canghai persuaded me to open the yin and yang worlds, and I agreed. But after years of research, I realized that it wasn't an immortal artifact. I finally know what it is. Not only can it open the path to the underworld, but it's also powerful enough to break open this world. So the legend is true. I didn't expect Goddess Zhichen to bury one of the coffins in this world. Li Kanglin trembled in shock. Chapter 739. What is that coffin? Yan Chuan asked curiously. In Yan Chuan's previous life, he had obtained a sky-burying copper coffin when he opened the tomb of the immortals. Later on, he had used that sky-burying copper coffin to bury his body. Now, there was another one in this life. What is it? Why don't you think about it from its name? Li Kanglin said bitterly. Name? Sky-burying copper coffin. Bury heaven. Yan Chuan's expression changed. That's right. As I said before, firmament is dead. Firmament is dead. Legend has it that Goddess Zhichen and a group of ancient gods buried firmament in a copper coffin. That copper coffin is called the sky-burying copper coffin. Li Kanglin said solemnly. Yan Chuan raised an eyebrow. Buried firmament in a copper coffin? Sky-burying copper coffin. Later on, the ancient gods used some kind of secret technique to split the sky-burying coffin into 9 different coffins. Chang Tian's corpse also disappeared after that. It turned into 9 empty coffins. At the end of the great ancient calamity, many ancient gods died. Goddess Zhichen used these 9 coffins to bury 9 of them. I didn't expect that there would be one in our world. A coffin that can bury firmament. How can it be an ordinary immortal artifact? Li Kanglin said bitterly. There are 9 sky-burying copper coffins in the world. Yan Chuan took a deep breath and exclaimed. Although he was the emperor of the Celestial Empire in his previous life, there were too many powerful people in the world. The Celestial Empire back then was only a small part of the empire and knew very little about the world. Why did Li Canghai banish you? He was afraid that you would ruin his plans. The Feng Shui altar has already been set up. He just needs to mobilize all the Feng Shui masters in the South faction to open it on the 9th day of the 9th lunar month. A Feng Shui master is enough. It's enough. Li Kanglin said bitterly. Master, in the end, is there still a blood sacrifice? Feng Yinyang's expression changed. That's right. I was wondering why Li Canghai invited all the experts of the southern divine continent. He wanted to carry out a blood sacrifice and capture all the factions of the southern divine continent. Once the emperor of the immortal world enters, he'll be able to unify the southern divine continent as quickly as possible. Li Kanglin said in a low voice. No wonder. No wonder he chased away the guests from the various holy lands and academies. He didn't want to sacrifice these people and become enemies with the entire world. Although we chased away the various holy lands, we did not become mortal enemies. Feng Yinyang sighed. Yinyang, you're the disciple I'm most proud of. Your attainments in feng shui are even greater than mine back in the day. I've always wanted you to pass on my mantle. The will of the heavens sent you to me. Now, Master will pass on my legacy to you. Li Canghai has been forcing me for many years to obtain my legacy. Haha, who would have thought that I would pass it on to you, ha ha ha. Li Kanglin laughed. Master. But now. Feng Yinyang didn't understand. Enough nonsense. Sit down. Li Kanglin called out. A semicircular compass suddenly appeared in front of Li Kanglin's chest. No, it was half a compass. It looked like it had nearly 1,000 wheels. Yan Chuan, can I trouble you to stand guard for me and my disciple? Li Kanglin asked. All right. Yan Chuan nodded and walked out of the cave. As soon as he walked out, he heard a voice from inside. Listen carefully, my disciple. In the immortal world, feng shui masters are judged by their lineages. The so-called feng shui sects are just servants of each lineage. Each lineage only has one true disciple and one feng shui master. Our lineage is called Ghost Valley. Li Kanglin said solemnly. Yes, our lineage is called Ghost Valley. Feng Yinyang's voice rang out. Chapter 740. Out of the cave. Yan Chuan smiled bitterly. As a native of the immortal realm, he didn't expect that his understanding of the immortal realm would be worse than the mortal realm. Pulse. Feng shui masters didn't calculate based on the sect, but on the pulse. A feng shui master was just a servant of the master. Yan Chuan took a deep breath. In the past, he only had a general understanding of feng shui. Now, he understood the structure of feng shui. None of the 5 cultivators in the world were simple. Yan Chuan didn't disturb or peek at the inheritance in the cave, because there was no need to. Just like that, they waited for an entire day. Suddenly. Roar. A golden dragon roared above the Sea of Providence in the Yushan Academy. Its roar was filled with anger. What's going on? The people looked at the sky in shock. Roar. Roar. The other 2 golden dragons of luck followed suit and roared. As they roared, they moved their bodies crazily, causing the Providence to surge. Countless Confucian cultivators in the city looked up at the sky and saw the golden dragons of luck roaring and revealing their bodies. Each of the 3 golden dragons of luck was missing 3 dragon claws. Where were the claws of the golden dragon? Yan Chuan looked at the sky and immediately understood that the dragon claw was not gone. It was cut off by Feng Yinyang and Li Kanglin. Roar. The golden dragon roared and charged into the valley. Rumble. One of the golden dragons roared and swooped down toward the valley as if it was going to tear it apart. Humph. Yan Chuan snorted. He waved his hand and the great heavenly seal rose to the sky. The great heavenly seal suddenly expanded 10,000 times and charged at the golden dragon like a giant mountain. Hong. Under the impact of the great sky stabilizing seal, the golden light was dazzling, and the massive impact resounded throughout the entire Yu Mountain City. Back in Yu Mountain City, countless citizens looked up at the sky, only to witness a shocking scene. With a loud bang, the golden dragon of Providence let out a sorrowful cry. Roar. Boom. The golden dragon of luck let out a sorrowful cry and exploded. You want to go against me without an abbot? Yan Chuan stared coldly at the other 2 golden dragons of luck. The 2 golden dragons of destiny didn't fly over. Instead, they stared at Yan Chuan. Humph. Yan Chuan snorted coldly. How dare you? Who are you? How dare you destroy the golden dragon of Yushan Academy? Bastard! Angry roars rose from all directions. A large number of practitioners flew towards the valley where Yan Chuan was. Yan Chuan sneered and unsheathed the Jade Emperor sword. Li Canghai had brought a large number of experts to the southern Feng Shui sect. How strong could the practitioners here be? In a large hall in the southern Feng Shui sect, Li Canghai was pretending to be Li Kanglin as he looked at a group of Feng Shui masters. Sect master, everything is ready. When the time is right, we can open the Yellow Springs path. A Feng Shui master said respectfully. Li Canghai nodded. Ming Ling Tian. Li Canghai looked at Ming Ling Tian. Yes. Any news about Feng Yinyang and Yan Chuan? Li Canghai frowned. No. I think they've returned to the East Divine Continent. Ha! Ming Ling Tian laughed. Chapter 741. Li Canghai frowned, feeling uneasy. He shouldn't have let them go that day. You may leave. Li Canghai said. Yes. Everyone left the hall. Li Canghai was walking in the hall when he heard a dragon's roar. Roar. The dragon's cry was tragic. Li Canghai's expression changed. The golden dragon of destiny? The golden dragon of Yushan Academy? Li Canghai closed his eyes and sensed it. 2 hours later, he opened his eyes. Bang! He smashed a chair's armrest. Yan Chuan. Feng Yinyang. I was wondering why I couldn't find you. I sent a large number of experts to the north to stop you, but you went to Yushan Academy. Li Canghai said hatefully. If not for the fact that I had to calm all the Feng Shui masters, I could have finished you off at Yinyang Peak. You too. Humph. Li Canghai's expression was ugly. No, how did they know? I get it now. It's Meng Ziqiu. Old man, I was wondering why you barged into my residence that day. So it was you. Li Canghai figured it out. He sulked for a while. Li Canghai's expression turned cold. So what if you saved Li Kanglin? So what if you destroyed Yushan Academy's destiny? You are destined to be too late. By the time you rush back from the Yu Mountain Academy, I will have already opened the entrance. His Majesty will enter the southern divine continent. None of you can stop him. In the future, none of you can escape. Humph. Yushan Academy. Rumble. Experts lay in pools of blood in the central valley. Yan Chuan stood at the peak of the mountain, surrounded by the Jade Emperor's sword formation. He looked coldly at the crowd of Confucian cultivators. There were many of them, but the thousands of corpses on the ground made their expressions ugly. No one dared to approach. Who are you? Why did you come to Yushan Academy? Do you know the consequences of killing us? A great Confucian shouted coldly. Yan Chuan didn't pay any attention to them. He only looked around coldly. The Confucian cultivators looked coldly at Yan Chuan. They were at a stalemate. He froze for half a day. After half a day, there was finally some movement in the valley below. Feng Yinyang walked out. This time, Feng Yinyang wore a hat and carried a white jade coffin. His footsteps were extremely heavy. A coffin? Seeing this, Yan Chuan raised his eyebrows. A coffin? Where is Li Kanglin? Who are you? A great scholar looked at Feng Yinyang and shouted. Feng Yinyang stared at him. Roar! A loud roar rang out, and 10 earth dragon veins suddenly erupted from the ground toward the grand scholar. Boom! The Confucian scholar exploded with a loud bang. Feng Yinyang was very angry. His anger soared to the sky, as if he needed to vent. With every step he took, the earth churned. The dragon veins around the Yu Mountain Academy were all activated by Feng Yinyang. Rumble. The earth was churning, and countless rocks were flying up into the sky. The Yu Mountain Academy was in a mess, with tumbling mountains everywhere. Ah! Countless Confucian cultivators in the Yu Mountain Academy screamed. The mountains were tumbling, and the earth was shaking like a tsunami in a storm. For a moment, there were screams and countless casualties. Stop! The Confucian cultivators shouted. Buzz! 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 The Jade Emperor's sword turned into countless sword shadows, killing all who came. The ground under Feng Yinyang's feet suddenly rose and turned into a mountain. Yan Chuan put away the Jade Emperor's sword and landed on the mountain beside Feng Yinyang. Rumble! The mountain moved out of the messy Yu Mountain city. None of the Confucian cultivators dared to stop it along the way. They could not stop it at all. Not long after, the two of them returned to the flying ship outside the city. Is Li Kanglan dead? Yan Chuan asked. Feng Yinyang felt a pang of bitterness. There's only one master in each lineage. I didn't think it through before, but now I finally understand. There's only one master in each generation. The previous generation didn't ascend to the immortal realm. They all died. Not only did they pass on the art of feng shui, but they also passed on their fate to the next generation. Feng Yinyang said bitterly. Yan Chuan sighed. The dead are gone. My condolences. Yan Chuan sighed. Feng Yinyang nodded. What's your plan? It's too late to stop Li Canghai. Yan Chuan looked at Feng Yinyang. Can't stop him. I'm going back to take the other feng shui masters with me. I'm the master, and they're my servants. Why should I leave my servants to Li Canghai? Feng Yinyang said coldly. Huo Guang, set sail. Full speed ahead to the southern feng shui sect. Yan Chuan ordered Huo Guang. Understood. Rumble. The airship took to the air. Feng Yinyang looked at Yan Chuan and said solemnly, I, Feng Yinyang, will honor my words. The southern feng shui sect is destroyed, but it will remain as long as I live. I'll fulfill my promise to Dazheng for 100 years. Good. With Mr. Feng's help for 100 years, Dazheng will prosper for generations to come. You know that Li Canghai wants to bring the emperors of the immortal world into this world. There's a department for feng shui masters in the immortal world called the Imperial Astronomer. Every country has one. Yan Chuan looked at Feng Yinyang. Feng Yinyang took a deep breath and said, I know. Master told me before. I'll join the Imperial Astronomer then. From today onwards, I'll appoint Feng Yinyang as the Imperial Astronomer. He won't be participating in the Imperial Court, but an independent special department of Dazheng. Yan Chuan said solemnly. At the same time, the providence cloud above Yanjin in the Dezhen dynasty started to churn. Yi Feng, Lu Gang, and the others looked at the sky. Is this the sign of investiture? Lu Gang said in surprise. Yes. It seems like His Majesty has found another capable person. Yi Feng looked at the sky and nodded. On the airship. Yes, His Majesty. Feng Yinyang said solemnly. Mr. Feng, you don't have to bow. The investiture is only to allow you to contact Dazheng's providence and enjoy it. You don't have to be so polite to me. Just act as usual. Yan Chuan said with a smile. Feng Yinyang nodded. I'll go take a look at Master's corpse. Feng Yinyang said with a heavy heart. Yan Chuan nodded. After watching Feng Yinyang leave, Yan Chuan's face gradually turned serious. Respect for the wise. This was something that every ruler had to know. Feng Yinyang was obviously a virtuous paragon, so Yan Chuan was naturally very polite to him. 100 years. 100 years was enough. Yan Chuan understood that Feng Yinyang did not have much of a sense of belonging to Dezhen. He had only joined De Zhen because he wanted to repay Yan Chuan's kindness. Such a person had his own pride. Especially after obtaining the inheritance of the Phantom Valley. Although his heart wasn't with Dazheng now, Yan Chuan still had 100 years. Yan Chuan believed that he would be able to influence Feng Yinyang 100 years later and let him follow Dazheng to the other side. Chapter 742. September 9th, Double Yang Day, Southern Divine Continent. Feng Shui Nanzong. Nearly 1,000,000 Feng Shui masters in black robes spread out around a circular altar that was 1,000 feet in diameter. The circular altar was pitch black in color, and a huge sky-burying coffin was placed on top of it. Dressed in a black robe, Li Canghai led the geomancers to the four corners of the altar. At this moment, the ground was like a gigantic compass, spinning in circles. The first circle was the altar that was 1,000 feet tall. The second circle consisted of Li Canghai, Ming Lingtian, and 100 geomancers. The third circle included all the other Feng Shui masters. There were millions of them. Almost all of the geomancers in the southern Feng Shui sect were present. In the fourth circle, the spectators were the various powerful experts of the southern divine continent. Including the large number of disciples that Xiao Xiong had brought along, there were about 5 million of them. There were a total of 4 circles, and they were all completely silent as they looked at the heaven-burying coffin in the center. It was about time. Li Canghai looked up at the sky. It's already 5 in the afternoon. Sacrifice. Li Canghai ordered. Who? Millions of Feng Shui masters knelt before the altars in the first circle. At the same time, all the geomancers began to chant cryptic incantations. Although they couldn't understand, the voices were extremely loud and in unison. When the incantation was uttered, the spectators in the fourth circle all felt their minds tremble. Buzz! Suddenly, countless yellow lights appeared on the ground. It was as if there was some kind of power sealed underground that was about to be released. Ong! 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 The tens of thousands of dragon veins surrounding the southern Feng Shui sect suddenly let out a long cry that shook the 9 heavens. The huge aura shook all the spectators and forced them to take a step back. It was like a surging river. The 10,000 dragon veins all charged towards the altar in the center. Boom! 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 The 10,000 dragons slammed into the altar in the center, and the altar suddenly shot out billions of rays of golden light, which shot straight towards the sky-burying coffin. Buzz! The heaven-burying coffin floated vertically in the air, trembling endlessly. Buzz! As the number of dragons increased, the heaven-burying coffin trembled more and more violently. The space around the first circle of altars seemed to blur. Buzz! Every time the coffin trembled, it was as if it was breathing. It was accumulating power and waiting to be unleashed, carrying a monstrous force. In the fourth circle, among the spectators, there was a cave in the mountain. Dao Lord Yu stood in a hidden place and looked at the heaven-burying coffin in the distance. Heaven-burying coffin? Dao Lord Yu raised her eyebrows. To think that even Maori would make a mistake. Back then, he actually gave it to Guyu so casually. The heaven-burying coffin is no small matter. Dao Lord Yu said solemnly. At the foot of another mountain. There was also a group of special people standing there. There were a total of 5 people, and the leader was a woman. She wore a tight red robe that accentuated her voluptuous figure. She had a head of fiery red hair, and she looked at the heaven-burying coffin in the distance with excitement and anticipation. If Yan Chuan was here, he would definitely recognize that this woman was Meng Hongying, the cousin of his fiancée Zizi. There were 4 people following behind Meng Hongying. They seemed to be her subordinates and were extremely respectful to her. Sky-burying coffin. Even after bearing the 10,000 dragon chi, it still had not reached its limit. What kind of treasure was it? How dare Li Kanglin chase me away? Was he afraid that I would covet this coffin? Meng Hongying's expression changed slightly. Chapter 743. Dao Lord Yu Yu, Meng Hongying, and countless other experts were staring at the sky-burying coffin. In the distance, the sky-burying coffin trembled for a while. Suddenly, it trembled up and down and crashed toward the altar. Hong! The sky-burying coffin crashed onto the altar. The surrounding noise suddenly stopped. Everyone looked over expectantly. Crack! 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 Under the sky-burying coffin, a large number of cracks suddenly appeared on the altar. Boom! The altar shattered with a loud bang, and a huge trench appeared horizontally from where the altar had been. Rumble! The earth trembled, and a trench that was 10,000 feet long and 100 feet wide suddenly appeared. Ah! Ah! There were some feng shui masters and spectators who were unlucky enough to fall from the sky. Yellow light shot into the sky from the trench. Accompanied by the yellow light, a surge of yin qi gushed out. Ah! Woo woo woo! Caw caw caw! Yang qi, it's actually yang qi. Suddenly, thousands of cheers could be heard from the trench. On the walls of the trench, black figures were slowly climbing up. There were too many black figures, more than 1 million of them. Halfway up, they suddenly fell down, or stepped on one another to climb up along the walls of the trench. There was happiness, pain, excitement, and suffering. The black figures looked extremely eerie in the yellow light, accompanied by a large amount of yin qi. Everyone knew what was going on. Dao Lord Yu Yu looked around. The endless yin qi covered the sky and the sun, blocking out the light of the day as if it was night. The road to the Yellow Springs is open. Dao Lord Yu Yu exclaimed. On the other side. Meng Hongying's face darkened as she said, the ghosts of the netherworld are crawling along the road to the living world. The connection of yin and yang is a revolution in the world. The world's situation might change because of this. The road to the Yellow Springs was opened, and thousands of ghosts crawled toward the living world. However, the road to the Yellow Springs was too difficult to walk and climb. Halfway up, many ghosts fell down and fell into the netherworld again. However, the ghosts were tireless. They stepped on one another and continued crawling. The people who had fallen into the netherworld were also completely submerged in the endless sea of ghosts. Countless feng shui masters were overjoyed. Li Canghai, on the other hand, had a grave expression on his face as he watched the endless yin energy rush up from the Yellow Springs Road and envelop the southern feng shui sect. Li Canghai seemed to be waiting for something. Li Canghai finally got the chance when the yin energy was completely isolated from the outside world. Sacrifice again. At Li Canghai's command, the million feng shui masters began to chant the cryptic incantation again. Ong! Ong! As the earth surged, the cries of 10,000 dragons rang out once again. The 10,000 dragons moved again. However, this time, they did not rush towards the first circle of altars. Instead, they rushed towards the audience area of the fourth circle. Boom! The 10,000 dragons charged into the fourth circle and burst out of the ground. Suddenly, they dissolved into the boundless yin qi, turning into a yellow fog. As soon as the yellow mist appeared, it scattered in all directions and entered the bodies of the powerhouses in the blink of an eye. The feng shui masters kept chanting the incantation. Among the powerhouses in the fourth circle. Master, what's wrong? Everyone looked at the red-robed sect master. The sect master's eyes were bloodshot. Suddenly, a vicious aura radiated from him. Master? Why are your eyes red? Ah, junior brother, your eyes are red too. Martial uncle, why are your eyes red too? The disciple cried out in panic. It was right to panic, but it was too late. The red-eyed crowd seemed to have lost their minds in an instant. They attacked the disciple who had spoken. Boom! The disciple exploded with a loud bang. Not even his bones remained, but his blood suddenly spurted into the sky and rushed towards the sky-burying coffin along with the yin energy. After killing the disciple, the red-eyed crowd continued to fight each other as if their hatred had not been quelled. Everyone who was tainted by the yellow mist lost their minds and became violent. Kill! 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 Fighting broke out in the crowd of spectators. Rumbling sounds could be heard everywhere, and the power of the fighting was vast. As long as someone died, their blood would be sucked out by an invisible force and sent into the heaven-burying coffin. Ah! Help! Roar! The fourth circle was a mess. Below the first circle was the road to the underworld, and above it, the sky-burying coffin was absorbing endless blood and trembling again. Li Canghai looked around coldly. In the distance. What a strong corrosive power! Taoist Lord Yu sensed the yellow mist in surprise. Taoist Lord Yu barely blocked the yellow mist's corrosion. On the other side, Meng Hongying and her 4 subordinates were not affected by the yellow mist either. A white stone-like Dharma treasure appeared in Meng Hongying's hand. It was the size of a fist. It was the holy light stone that Yan Chuan had used to forge the god's sword. Meng Hongying activated the holy light stone. A large amount of white light shrouded the 5 of them and blocked the yellow mist's corrosion. Blood sacrifice. Li Kanglan wants to sacrifice all the powerhouses in the southern divine continent. What is he doing? Meng Hongying looked into the distance in surprise. Boom! Kill! Those who stand in my way shall die. The powerhouses were fighting each other. Their essence blood was sucked into the sky-burying coffin. Taoist Lord Yu and Meng Hongying watched coldly. They had no intention of interfering. Both of them wanted to know what the southern sect of Feng Shui was doing. This slaughter lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. It was a frenzied slaughter that was extremely tragic. A large number of experts were buried, and those who survived were heavily injured. They were on the verge of death. The sky-burying coffin trembled even more violently. Li Canghai looked at the sky-burying coffin. Not enough, Ming Lingtian. Li Canghai yelled. Yes. Ming Lingtian narrowed his eyes. He waved his hand and the 100 Feng Shui masters in the second circle all took out a Dharma treasure and waved it. Boom! The power that separated the 4th and 3rd circles from the yellow mist seemed to have suddenly disappeared. The yellow mist rolled toward the Feng Shui masters in the 3rd circle. Ah! Some of the Feng Shui masters screamed. Master, why? Sect Master, no. Sect Master, why? The Feng Shui masters screamed. Sect Master wants to sacrifice us. Why? The sky-burying coffin trembled as if it was twisting space. Li Canghai was in a good mood. He looked at the terrified Feng Shui masters and said, "Ha ha ha, I'm not Li Kanglan." Chapter 744. Ha 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 ha. I'm not Li Kanglan. Li Canghai laughed. The Feng Shui masters in the 3rd circle were stunned. Li Canghai. One of the Feng Shui masters roared. It's too late. Li Canghai swung his sleeves and laughed. Bastard! Where's my master? Where's the sect master? The Feng Shui masters nearby rushed over in a frenzy. Buzz! Between the 2nd and 3rd circles, a transparent yellow wall suddenly appeared, blocking the group of geomancers outside. Boom! 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 The Feng Shui masters bombarded the building but failed to open it. They were furious. Ming Lingtian, you bastard! You betrayed the sect. You betrayed the South sect. 100 Feng Shui masters stood behind Li Canghai and looked coldly at the Feng Shui masters outside. Most of the spectators in the 4th circle were dead. The yellow mist rolled in, and more Feng Shui masters lost their minds. They only knew how to kill. 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 The feng shui masters were always powerful. With a wave of their hands, the feng shui changed and dragon veins appeared. The earth in the third circle churned as the feng shui masters summoned dragon veins to fight each other. Kill. 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 The slaughter was fierce, but that was not the most terrifying thing. The most terrifying thing was the rolling yellow mist. Anyone who came into contact with it would quickly lose themselves. Some of the feng shui masters who were close to the Yellow Springs Road jumped down. Ah! A feng shui master jumped down, but before he could reach the depths, he was caught by a ghost. Roar! Rip! Ka ka ka! The feng shui master was torn apart by a group of ghosts in the blink of an eye. However, the feng shui masters jumped down without hesitation. They understood the yellow mist very well. If they stayed, they would die. If they entered the Yellow Springs Road, they would have a chance to enter the netherworld. Kill. 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 Outside the circle, the feng shui masters were killing each other. Li Canghai and the others watched coldly. A large amount of blood was drawn into the sky-burying coffin. After another 5 days and 5 nights, the feng shui masters were almost all dead. Only 10% of them escaped to the Yellow Springs Road, and it was unknown how many of these 10% would make it to the netherworld alive. Buzz! The heaven-burying coffin suddenly trembled, and a large number of cracks appeared in the surrounding space. Li Canghai and the others looked over. In the distance, Meng Hongying and Dao Lord Yu Yu were also staring intently. The two of them did not expect that Li Kanglin was a fake. Li Canghai. Dao Lord Yu Yu took a deep breath. Meng Hongying narrowed her eyes. Until the sky-burying coffin moved. The sky-burying coffin fell from the sky and smashed into the road to the Yellow Springs. When half of it hit the road to the Yellow Springs, it seemed to have hit something solid. Hong! A deafening explosion shook the 9 heavens. The earth around the southern feng shui sect quaked violently, and cracks spread out from the heaven-burying coffin. Under the powerful impact, the yin qi and yellow mist around the southern feng shui sect exploded. A powerful gust of wind blew from the sky-burying coffin in all directions. Wherever it passed, trees, mountains, rivers, and even palaces were razed to the ground. Chapter 745. Even where Meng Hongying and Dao Lord Yu Yu were at was razed to the ground, exposing the two parties. They flew into the sky and looked at the road to the Yellow Springs that the sky-burying coffin had crashed into. Half of the sky-burying coffin was in the world of the living and the other half was in the road to the Yellow Springs. And at the place where the road to the underworld crashed, a hole suddenly appeared out of thin air. The hole was extremely strange. Endless yin qi came out from it. It was no different from the road to the Yellow Springs, but it exuded a great deterrence. It was as if there was an army on the other side of the hole. A fierce aura surged out of him. Rumble. Dark clouds suddenly covered the sky above the sky-burying coffin, as if a heavenly tribulation had descended. The hole in the sky-burying coffin was slowly expanding. It was originally 100 feet in diameter, but now it was 200 feet wide. And it was still expanding. Shattering the void. That's shattering the void. It broke open the gates of the immortal world. Meng Hongying exclaimed. The sky-burying coffin. It can even break open the gates of the immortal world. What Dharma treasure is that? What Dharma treasure is that? Immortal treasure. No, it's definitely more than that. Dao Lord Yu Yu said excitedly. Whoosh! Dao Lord Yu Yu rushed toward the sky-burying coffin. Li Canghai looked at the sky and his expression changed. Dao Lord Yu Yu, what are you doing? Li Canghai exclaimed. Ha ha ha, what am I doing? Li Canghai, the sky-burying coffin used to be the Dharma treasure of the Guyu holy son of the Dazhao sacred ground. It belongs to the Dajiao's sacred ground. Today, I'm just taking it back. Dao Lord Yu said excitedly. Stop him, stop him. Li Canghai shouted. Yes. The 100 Feng Shui masters shouted at the same time and then activated the yellow transparent wall outside the second circle. Boom. Dao Lord Yu struck it with his palm. The yellow transparent wall shook violently. The Feng Shui masters were shocked and took a step back. However, they still managed to stop Dao Lord Yu. Roar. The Feng Shui masters activated again. Humph, Li Canghai, you're only at the middle void realm. These geomancers, haha, they're only at the middle void realm and the lower void realm. Some of them are even at the immortal realm. Do you think you can stop me? He use palm again. Boom. Pooh. 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 A large number of Feng Shui masters were shocked to the point of vomiting blood. Li Canghai's expression changed. Li Canghai bowed respectfully at the entrance and said, Your Majesty, there are enemies obstructing us. I implore Your Majesty to grant me the power of my previous life and buy time for Your Majesty. Your Majesty. Dao Lord Yu and Meng Hongying raised their eyebrows. There was someone else on the other side? Permitted. From the other side of the entrance, an extremely dignified voice suddenly sounded. The voice was filled with a condescending tone. Boom. A streak of blue light shot out of the opening, and a human-shaped ball of light shot towards Li Canghai. Li Canghai opened his arms and flicked his wrist. The humanoid blue light shot into Li Canghai's body. Rumble. Li Canghai's aura suddenly skyrocketed. A whirlwind seemed to have formed under his feet. Li Canghai's aura continued to rise. Blue light shot out from Li Canghai's body. Dao Lord Yu stopped and looked at Li Canghai in surprise. The power of his previous life? Your Majesty. Li Canghai. Breaking through the void. Dao Lord Yu's expression changed. Dao Lord Yu suddenly grabbed a crescent-shaped Dharma treasure. Dao Lord Yu grabbed the Dharma treasure and slashed at the yellow transparent wall with a ferocious expression. Chapter 746. Boom. The yellow transparent wall was shattered by the ferocious attack. Ah! Hundreds of Feng Shui masters were sent flying, coughing up blood. They were severely injured. 3 of the weaker Feng Shui masters even exploded on the spot under the force of the recoil. The power of an upper void realm cultivator was overwhelming. Dao Lord Yu did not hesitate and pounced on the sky-burying coffin. Raging sea waves. Li Canghai suddenly shouted. Boom. Li Canghai threw a palm strike at Dao Lord Yu. Dao Lord Yu paused and faced the palm strike. Boom. When the 2 palms collided, a huge storm was created and swept out in all directions. The Feng Shui masters who had just been seriously injured could not withstand the power of the storm and were all blown away. Upper Void Realm. Dao Lord Yu's face darkened. Heavenly River Reversal. Li Canghai waved his hand again. A huge river seemed to appear out of nowhere and swept toward Dao Lord Yu. Li Canghai chased after the river and closed in on Dao Lord Yu. Boom. Under the huge spell, Li Canghai immediately pulled Dao Lord Yu away from the battlefield. He flew into the sky. Above the 2 of them, there was a huge dark cloud with flashes of lightning. Meng Hongying looked at the sky. Li Canghai has reached the upper void realm. He can't pass the tribulation in time. However, this tribulation won't hurt them. The fight between the 2 tigers is going to benefit me. Meng Hongying flew toward the sky-burying coffin excitedly. The Feng Shui masters were all severely injured and Meng Hongying was the only one who could benefit. Meng Hongying. It's you. The Feng Shui masters on the ground looked at Meng Hongying in surprise. The feng shui masters led by Ming Lingtian got up with difficulty and were about to attack the sky. Stop them, Meng Hongying said to the 4 servants. Yes. The 4 of them attacked the feng shui masters at the same time. Meng Hongying flew to the sky-burying coffin. The sky-burying coffin was still trembling. As it trembled, it emitted an incomparably dense energy. Treasure, treasure, ha! Meng Hongying reached out to grab it excitedly. Just as Meng Hongying was about to grab the sky-burying coffin, suddenly, dense yin qi gushed out from the hole created by the sky-burying coffin. The yin qi surged and instantly enveloped the surroundings. In addition to the yin qi, there was also a skeleton claw that was hundreds of feet long. The huge skeleton claw, with an extremely strong aura of death, suddenly grabbed the sky-burying coffin. Clang! The huge skeletal claw grabbed the sky-burying copper coffin. Suddenly, a strong golden aura emanated from the claw and wrapped around the sky-burying copper coffin. Boom! The golden aura broke free from Meng Hongying. Little girl, do you think you can touch my things? A majestic and angry voice came from the opening. At the same time, an airship was flying in from the east of the southern feng shui sect. Soon, soon, Yi said excitedly. Standing at the bow of the ship, Yan Chuan and Feng Yinyang looked into the distance. Boom! The storm raged, razing everything to the ground. It's too late. We can't make it in time, Feng Yinyang said bitterly. Yan Chuan stared into the distance. The airship continued to fly quickly. Soon, Yan Chuan saw a huge battle taking place in the distant sky. A storm appeared in the sky. 2 forces were fighting fiercely. Yan Chuan vaguely saw the 2 people in the sky. Dao Lord Yue. Li Canghai. Li Canghai has reached the upper void realm. Yan Chuan's face darkened. Chapter 747. Little girl, do you think you can touch my things? A majestic and angry voice came from the opening. Golden aura surged from the skeleton's palm into the sky-burying coffin. The sky-burying coffin was also wrapped in a thick layer of luck. So what if you're from the immortal world? Meng Hongying snorted. Meng Hongying knew how powerful the opponent was, but she could tell that the opponent was not able to get through. The temptation of the sky-burying coffin was too great. She waved her hand. Whoosh! Meng Hongying lashed out a red whip and coiled it around the coffin, pulling it up at the same time. At the same time, Meng Hongying used her other hand to hit the skeleton claw. A huge red palm print suddenly appeared in the void and slammed into the skeletal claw. Boom! The skeleton claw did not move at all. You're courting death. A cold voice came from the other side of the hole. With a cold shout, more providence appeared around the skeletal claw. It broke free from Meng Hongying's whip. Ong! A dragon roar came from the luck outside the sky-burying coffin. Following the dragon's roar, a huge dragon head suddenly emerged from the surrounding fortune. It was the golden dragon of luck. The dragon head soared into the sky. Luck surged out from the coffin. The golden dragon of luck was extremely majestic. As the dragon swung its whiskers, lightning flashed in the void. The dragon tail swung. Boom! Meng Hongying was sent flying by the tail. The 30,000-foot-long dragon head bared its teeth with a ferocious expression as it charged into the tribulation clouds in the sky. Hong! Under the impact of the golden dragon of luck, a large hole suddenly appeared in the vast tribulation cloud. The tribulation clouds could not be removed, but they could not stop the golden dragon of luck's attack. A huge hole was created for the luck to soar into the sky. Providence soared into the sky, increasing continuously. The hole grew bigger and bigger, and the luck surged out more and more. Along with the luck, the yin qi on the other side of the hole also surged out. Endless yin qi. Seeing this, Meng Hongying knew that she had met her match this time. Meng Hongying turned around and was about to flee. "Little girl, you're only thinking of running now." The voice on the other side of the mouth was cold. The skeletal claw holding the sky-burying coffin suddenly moved. The yin qi in the surroundings quickly gathered and turned into specters. Their eyes emitted a green glow as they pounced on Meng Hongying. Woo 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 woo. The spirits were like clouds of ghostly fog. Their eyes glowed with green light and they were extremely fast. More importantly, there were tens of thousands of them. Boom! In the blink of an eye, it enveloped Meng Hongying. Bastard! Meng Hongying swung her whip and a dozen spirits were destroyed. However, there were too many of them. And it was still increasing rapidly. The spirits were weak and could not even hurt Meng Hongying, but there were many of them. Woo 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 woo. Meng Hongying was wrapped in 3 layers like a dumpling. The spirit pulled at Meng Hongying, making it harder and harder for her to use her power. Sacred Light Stone. Meng Hongying anxiously activated the Sacred Light Stone. Ah! The spirits screamed and disappeared after being purified by the Sacred Light Stone. However, there were still too many of them. As the hole grew bigger, the number of spirits increased exponentially. The area that originally only covered Meng Hongying became 1,000 feet wide area. Then, it became 100,000 feet wide area. 100,000 feet. 1,000,000 feet. Chapter 748. The spirits were like a sea of locusts, blotting out the sky. Go away, go away. Meng Hongying was extremely anxious. She did not manage to escape earlier. How could she escape now? Meng Hongying felt like crying when she saw the hole getting bigger. She could not do anything about the spirits. What about the person who spoke just now? Meng Hongying waved her long whip madly and activated the Holy Light Stone. But there were too many spirits. Karmic luck surged in the sky, growing larger and larger. Gradually, a sea of fortune formed in the sky, surging with monstrous fortune. In the distance, a flying boat stopped in the outside world. Feng Yinyang stood on the flying boat and said hatefully, "Li Canghai used the South Faction's Feng Shui master as a blood sacrifice. How cruel, how cruel." Meng Hongying. Yan Chuan saw Meng Hongying, who was surrounded by thousands of spirits. ZZ's cousin. Meng Hongying was responsible for ZZ's serious injury. But it was also because of her that ZZ was saved. How was ZZ now? "Your Majesty, shall we go?" Feng Yinyang looked at Yan Chuan. Feng Yinyang could naturally sense the terrifying aura around the sky-burying coffin. Feng Yinyang knew that his group would be like moths to a flame if they tried to snatch the sky-burying coffin. In order to save Yan Chuan's face, she proposed to leave. Yan Chuan looked at the sea of providence in the sky. It was still expanding. Moving the capital. The providence of the Celestial Empire. Yan Chuan was surprised. "Your Majesty." Feng Yinyang, "I know what you're thinking. But we can't leave now. We're too close." Yan Chuan shook his head. "Ah. You don't know what the Celestial Empire is." "Ha, once he succeeds in moving the capital, the Celestial Dynasty's divine statue will be able to capture us within 1,000,000 miles. 1,000,000 miles? There are tens of thousands of dragon veins in the southern sect. Aim these dragon veins and dragon heads at the heaven-burying coffin. Use the raging dragons to block the transfer of fate energy and delay his relocation of the capital. We will leave then." Yan Chuan said in a deep voice. "Yes." Feng Yinyang replied. Feng Yinyang quickly jumped off the flying boat. Yan Chuan also rushed inside. Xing! The god's sword appeared and escorted Yan Chuan to the center. Woo 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 woo. Countless specters suddenly discovered Yan Chuan and quickly rushed toward Yan Chuan. Buzz! The god's sword trembled, and suddenly, a vast white light gushed out. Wherever the white light passed, the spirits were all terrified. The nearby spirits were quickly purified in fear. Meng Hongying's fist-sized holy light stone was enough to purify a large number of spirits, let alone Yan Chuan's holy light stone. The god's sword continued to purify the spirits. Yan Chuan quickly rushed toward the center of the spirit sea. However, there were too many spirits, and they seemed to have no intelligence. They kept rushing toward Yan Chuan. The spirits were getting closer and closer. Even though many of them had been purified, they were still coming. They were about to catch Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan was also close. Whoosh! Yan Chuan suddenly shot out a long whip from his left wrist and instantly wrapped around Meng Hongying. Meng Hongying struggled in the spirit sea. Her legs and waist were entangled by the spirits. It was as if she had fallen into a swamp and could not move. No! Meng Hongying was so anxious that she was about to cry. Whoosh! Suddenly, a green vine wrapped around her waist. Chapter 749. Boom! Meng Hongying was pulled over instantly. Bang! Before Meng Hongying could react, she was pulled into Yan Chuan's arms. Chest to chest. It's you. Meng Hongying was surprised. Yan Chuan did not want to waste time talking to her. He saved Meng Hongying and turned around to leave. There were too many spirits behind them. Miss. 4 people were Jiaohu on the way back. Your men? Yan Chuan asked while hugging Meng Hongying. Yes. Swoosh. Another vine whip was lashed out and wrapped around the 4 men in the blink of an eye. They returned quickly. The god's sword shone and purified the spirits around them. The further they went, the fewer spirits there were. Gradually, everyone was safe. What kind of sword is that? Meng Hongying looked at the god's sword above Yan Chuan's head in surprise. Yan Chuan did not say much. Instead, he looked into the distance and saw that the ground was bulging in more than 10 places. Roar! 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 For a moment, the ground was filled with dragon roars. Under Feng Yinyang's control, the dragon veins crashed toward the center of the coffin. The dragon veins charged toward the sky-burying coffin in a destructive manner as if they were angry. Boom! 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 The series of impacts caused the providence that was rushing out to suddenly stop and then flow back. Bastard! Monstrous anger came from the sky-burying coffin. However, it could not stop the flow of providence because more and more dragon veins were charging toward it. Boom! 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 The sea of providence rolled back, leaving only a hole. The emperor on the other side was furious. Your Majesty! I have fulfilled my mission. Feng Yinyang flew onto the flying ship. Yan Chuan had also just returned. Let's go. Yan Chuan said. Yes. Huo Guang replied. Rumble. The flying boat quickly flew towards the north. Meng Hongying's 4 subordinates landed on the flying boat while Yan Chuan was still hugging Meng Hongying. Meng Hongying was also dumbfounded by the series of events in front of her. Why is Yan Chuan here? What kind of sword was that? Did Yan Chuan destroy the plan of the expert on the other side of the opening? The emperor? While Meng Hongying's thoughts were in a mess, Yan Chuan suddenly said, Miss Meng, please let go. It's safe now. Could you please let go? Meng Hongying suddenly realized that she had been hugging Yan Chuan so tightly that her breasts were deformed. Everyone was staring at them. Yan Chuan had already moved his hand away. It was as if she was hugging Yan Chuan and refusing to let go. You! Meng Hongying's face reddened in embarrassment. She quickly let go and retreated a distance. The flying boat quickly flew towards the north. However, Yan Chuan stood at the stern again and looked at the rolling spirit sea in the distance. And the providence in the sky. With the impact of the dragon veins, the providence rolled back. Not long after, it all flowed back against the current. Bastard! An angry roar came from the other side of the opening. Outside, the dragon veins were still in the midst of impact. Another voice came from the other side of the opening. Imperial astronomer, prepare to move the capital for the second time. Command from the Ministry of Rights. All armies and officials, enter in an orderly manner. Do not mess up. I will go first. Long live. Long live. Long live. Long live. On the other side, it was as if thousands of soldiers and horses were cheering for this moment. Chapter 750. King of Gaia. On the flying vessel, everyone stared fixedly at the battlefield in the distance. The great earth dragon vein struck the heaven-burying copper coffin time and time again, causing the karma to flow in reverse. However, the hole created by the heaven-burying copper coffin was expanding continuously. Countless spirits appeared rapidly. They did not have intelligence and merely flew around instinctively. Thankfully, it was already night time. Otherwise, those spirits would definitely be severely injured under the sunlight. A bright moon rose into the sky. High in the sky, Li Canghai fought against Tao Lord Yu Yu. Li Canghai waved his hand and a galaxy seemed to have appeared in the sky, crashing towards Tao Lord Yu Yu. Under the torrential impact, the surrounding air let out loud explosions. Boom! Boom! Even from far away, one could feel the surging power of this star river. Tao Lord Yu Yu's eyes turned cold as he pointed to the sky. Boom! Above the bright moon, an intense beam of moonlight shot down and enveloped Tao Lord Yu Yu. For a moment, silver light shone around Tao Lord Yu Yu, as though he had turned into the moon. The moon charged towards the galaxy. Boom! Boom! The sound of the explosions grew louder and the powerful tremors caused countless spirits below to tremble violently. Some of them were even dispersed on the spot. Above the galaxy, countless stars were sent flying by the moon. The moon collided with Li Canghai. Tao Lord Yu Yu wielded a crescent-shaped Dharma treasure and aimed it at Li Canghai with the outer arc of the moon, suppressing him from the sky. Tao Lord Yu Yu's face was ferocious but Li Canghai's expression changed. In a hurry, Li Canghai waved his brush towards the sky. Lousy brush, how dare you block my moon crescent wheel? Tao Lord Yu Yu sneered. Boom! The brush and wheel collided. Tao Lord Yu Yu suppressed Li Canghai with a tremendous aura, causing him to fall rapidly. Swoosh! He fell from the sky and landed on the ground below. Boom! Li Canghai landed on the ground with a loud stomp that shook the surroundings. From beneath his feet, the ground seemed to form a gigantic shockwave that spread in all directions, pushing a layer of the ground for more than 50 kilometers. The brush and wheel were in a stalemate as Li Canghai struggled bitterly. Tao Lord Yu Yu, however, smiled. That's all. Lord Yu Yu's way. Crack! Li Canghai's brush snapped in two, and the crescent wheel fell straight down. Tao Lord Yu Yu's eyes were ferocious as though she wanted to kill Li Canghai on the spot. Just as Tao Lord Moon was completely engrossed in the battle and was filled with bloodthirsty excitement, in the outside world, a blue scepter suddenly flew in and struck the moon crescent wheel. Dang! Li Canghai took advantage of the opening to flee. The collision of the scepter caused Tao Lord Yu Yu to wake up abruptly. She turned to look at the place where the scepter collided. At the intersection of the yellow springs, where the sky-burying coffin was. Slowly, a huge figure emerged from the huge hole. A sinister wind blew, and the aura of death soared to the sky. As the huge figure emerged from the hole, the tribulation clouds in the sky were still there, but there was too much yin qi, so much that it completely drowned the tribulation clouds. A gigantic body emerged from the opening. Just its gigantic head alone was over 1,000 feet in size. The head was wearing a black hood. A gigantic head could be vaguely seen within the black hood. It was a human-shaped head, but there was no flesh. It was a gigantic skull. On top of the skull, where the eyes were, a faint blue light was emitted. Chapter 751. The giant skeleton was still rising slowly, higher and higher. It was wearing a black robe with a hood and was more than 10,000 feet tall. It slowly emerged from the opening. The sinister wind wreaked havoc, causing the huge black robe to billow in the wind. It was like a banner fluttering in the wind. The 1,000-foot-tall skeleton exuded a boundless aura of death that surged in all directions. With each step he took, the ground within 1 kilometer of him froze, and frost fell to the ground. Standing in the wind, this single skeleton looked like an army of thousands upon thousands of men and horses, pressuring them. "Thank you, Your Majesty." Li Songhai bowed respectfully to the 10,000 feet tall skeleton. "Your Majesty. Your Majesty is this giant skeleton." The 10,000 feet tall skeleton held the sky-burying coffin in one hand and the blue scepter that was growing in size in the other, staring at Tao Lord Yu. "In this world, there is no heavenly tribulation chasing you. This means that you are also in the upper void realm. Hand over the sky-burying coffin." Tao Lord Yu said coldly. "Sky-burying coffin. Do you think you can touch my things?" The giant skeleton said coldly. "Stubborn." Tao Lord Yu snorted coldly. He reached out and the moon wheel in his hands suddenly enlarged. In the blink of an eye, it became 10,000 feet tall and flew into the sky. Whoosh! The power of the moon essence poured into the moon wheel. The moon wheel suddenly emitted billions of rays of light and fell from the sky, slashing down at the giant skeleton. "Humph!" The giant skeleton snorted and waved the scepter in his hand. With a wave of the scepter, the yin qi in the surroundings gathered and collided with the moon wheel with an aura of death. Boom! The surrounding ground, which was 100 miles wide, exploded. Soil and stones soared into the sky and the aftershock brought with it a strong explosive force. The main body of the collision, the moon wheel, was broken. The powerful moon wheel was completely destroyed by the giant skeleton's scepter. The scepter's power did not decrease and smashed towards Tao Lord Yu. When the moon wheel was broken, Tao Lord Yu's mind was affected. Instantly, his blood qi surged and his expression changed drastically. However, it was too late. The scepters smashed down and locked onto him. In a hurry, Tao Lord Yu raised his hands to the sky and formed a lunar seal. Boom! Yu's scepter smashed onto Tao Lord Yu's lunar seal. The powerful force instantly suppressed Tao Lord Yu to the point that she could not move. "I'm Tao Lord Yu from the Great Revelation Holy Land." Tao Lord Yu reported her name in shock. The giant skeleton held the scepter and looked coldly at Tao Lord Yu. "Minister Li is just a civil official. Do you think you're invincible just because you defeated him in martial arts?" The giant skeleton used its scepter to suppress Tao Lord Yu and said coldly. Tao Lord Young Moon could not move for a moment with her scepter and her expression was extremely terrible. "Your Majesty, this is Tao Lord Yu, one of the 3 Tao Lords of the Dazhao Holy Land. The Dazhao Holy Land is the #1 sect in this world." Li Songhai reported. "The world's #1 sect? It seems that a Tao Lord like him is nothing more than this." The giant skeleton said coldly. "Your Majesty, this person cannot represent the Dazhao Holy Land. The Dazhao Holy Land is led by the sacred master, Jing Ming. Jing Ming is the #1 person in the world today. He has the sun and moon attendants and the 2 Tao Lords, sun and moon. Although they are called the 3 Tao Lords together with Jing Ming, the 2 of them are merely Jing Ming's servants. Jing Ming's strength is unfathomable and he is the #1 person in the world today. Li Songhai reported truthfully. Oh. The giant skeleton pondered for a moment. Chapter 752. I suggest that your majesty should focus on establishing his foundation since he has just entered this world and should not incur the wrath of the great revelation holy ground immediately. This person should be released. Li Songhai said solemnly. Tao Lord Yu looked at Li Songhai in shock. He was the one who wanted to kill him earlier on. In the blink of an eye, Li Songhai was pleading for him. Approved. The gigantic skeleton said coldly. Boom. The gigantic skeleton retracted his scepter slowly. Instantly, the pressure on Tao Lord Yu was relieved as he looked at this pair of ruler and subject in shock. Great revelation holy ground, Yu. I have yet to ask for your guidance. Tao Lord Yu took a deep breath and said solemnly. He could forget about the heaven-burying coffin. Now that he was released, Tao Lord Yu did not escape immediately. Instead, he asked politely in the name of the great revelation holy ground. Li Songhai said, this is the emperor of the great nightmare holy ground, King Yu Gai. Great nightmare holy ground? King Yu Gai. Tao Lord Yu looked at King Yu Gai with a complicated expression. He turned to look at the entrance that King Yu Gai came out from. Behind him, a large number of figures followed closely. The frontmost group of skeletal soldiers were riding on huge skeletal horses. The skeleton knights were clad in battle armor and walked out slowly. Following that, a group of venomous snakes followed the army out slowly. Pist, pist, pist. The venomous snakes slithered in all directions with extremely cold gazes. Following that, groups of zombies stepped onto the ground, causing a drought. The leading zombie looked at Tao Lord Yu coldly with a pale face and stood behind King Yu Gai respectfully. King Yu Gai was way too big. He was so big that even an army that entered was like an ant before him. Swoosh! A purple-robed man appeared beside Li Songhai. The man was extremely skinny and had a pale face. He looked feminine but his eyes shone with an incomparably sinister divine glint. He glared at Tao Lord Yu, causing Tao Lord Yu to shudder. Cough, cough, cough. The purple-robed man coughed and grabbed a handkerchief. He covered his mouth while looking at Tao Lord Yu coldly. Supreme Snake Emperor. Li Songhai bowed to the purple-robed man. You're getting more and more cowardly. A holy land of the sealed world needs you to persuade His Majesty. The purple-robed man looked at Li Songhai with dissatisfaction. Li Songhai smiled bitterly and said, I have lived in this world for many years, Snake Emperor. I will not tarnish His Majesty's reputation for no reason. His Majesty still has important matters to attend to. He shouldn't make enemies of the world right now. Humph. The Snake Emperor snorted coldly. Li Songhai smiled bitterly and didn't say anything else. National beast? Snake? Snakes can turn into dragons, so why didn't you guys evolve in the direction of dragons? Continue to cultivate in the serpentine form? Tao Lord Yu asked in surprise. Snake Sovereign looked at Tao Lord Yu and sneered, Dragon? Why should I transform into a dragon? Tao Lord Yu's expression froze. She took a deep breath and turned to look at King Yu Gai once more. Underworld King, I've offended you today. I won't disturb you any further. Tao Lord Yu flew into the sky. Yu. King Gai Yu suddenly opened his mouth. Tao Lord Single Moon turned to look at King Guai. Jingying is the #1 person in this realm? King Guai asked calmly. Tao Lord Yu looked at King Yu Gai in confusion. Go back and tell Jingying that I'll be heading to your great revelation holy land soon to see what the #1 person in the world is like. King Yu Gai said calmly. King Yu Gai was ambitious. Therefore, he had to have a rough understanding of this world. The #1 person in the world was the best touchstone. I'll definitely pass on King Yu Gai's words. Tao Lord Yu said coldly. As he spoke, he reached out and grabbed the broken moon wheel. Stepping into the distance, he shot out instantly. In the blink of an eye, Tao Lord Yu Yu was nowhere to be seen. Chapter 753. The flying boat was far away from the battlefield where King Gai came out. Yan Chuan and his group naturally could not see the battle between King Gai and Tao Lord Yu Yu. However, that did not stop Yan Chuan from guessing. Ghost Emperor. The celestial empire of the netherworld? He was in the world of the living in his previous life. Just like him, he was the emperor of a country. The Ghost Emperor must have his own methods to deal with Tao Lord Yu Yu. Moreover, there were many experts in a country. Tao Lord Yu Yu would not be able to gain any advantage. Your Majesty, according to the feng shui information left behind by my master, the entrance to the immortal world during this water ritual will expand to 10,000 feet. After 10 days, the entrance will shrink until it returns to normal. Feng Yinyang said solemnly. Oh. 20 days. He came prepared. 20 days is enough for his country to enter. Yan Chuan frowned. This world will repair itself. Therefore, the connection to the immortal world will only last for 20 days. Moreover, this is the only time. This time, almost half of the strongest experts in the southern divine continent and all the feng shui masters were used to succeed in the blood sacrifice. There will not be a second time unless the previous conditions are fulfilled. However, it is too difficult. Feng Yinyang said firmly. What about the road to the Yellow Springs? Yan Chuan asked. The road to the Yellow Springs has been opened and will not be closed again. The Ghost Emperor can enter the netherworld of our world as he wishes. However, Your Majesty, although the netherworld of our world is not as strong as the world of the living, there are still many experts. The Ghost Emperor will not succeed overnight. This time, the Ghost Emperor killed the sect leaders of the various sects and made an enemy of the entire southern divine continent. There will be endless chaos in the future. Feng Yinyang said firmly. Huo Guang, go to the next city and spread the news of the Ghost Emperor's birth and the blood sacrifice of the experts of the various sects. Yan Chuan looked at Huo Guang and said. Yes. Your Majesty, are you trying to stir up chaos in the southern divine continent? Feng Yinyang smiled. That's right. Why should we let the Ghost Emperor be too idle? Yan Chuan smiled. Your Majesty, Your Majesty. Feng Yinyang nodded. Yellow Springs Road. Seeing Tao Lord Yu Yu leave, King Gai looked around, as though he was searching for Yan Chuan, Meng Hongying and the others. Little girl, you sure run fast. King of Gai said calmly. Since he could not find Meng Hongying, King of Gai did not continue his search. After all, Meng Hongying was nothing in his eyes. Minister Li, have you prepared the 9 stars auxiliary government arrangement that I asked you to prepare? King Yu of Gai asked in a deep voice. Reporting to Your Majesty, the feng shui masters of this world are indeed formidable. This subject has found one of the 2 strongest feng shui masters in the world and has already set up a 9 stars city, waiting for our valiant generals and civil officials to inherit. What a pity. Li Canghai said with a complicated expression. Pity what? Reporting to Your Majesty, in order to not attract too much attention, the defense is lacking. Among them, the ravenous wolf star was accidentally obtained by an outsider. 9 stars are missing, and now there are only 8 stars left. Please punish me, Your Majesty. Li Canghai sighed. Greedy wolf star. But it is not easy to control. I have searched among the officials for a long time, but I could not find the most suitable one. Who inherited it? King Yu of Gai asked curiously. It is a wolf child. He grew up in a pack of wolves. He is unusually ferocious, but his heart is clear. Li Canghai said. Wolf child? I see. Minister Li, you have done nothing wrong. This is a great merit. From today onwards, I will confer you the title of Duke Stabilizing, and you will enjoy middle-level providence, King Yu of Gai said solemnly. Thank you, Your Majesty. Li Canghai said excitedly. Chapter 754. Since the ravenous wolf star is gone, the other 8 stars must not be lost. I have already selected the generals and ministers. Bring them along and take over the 8 stars as soon as possible. King Gaio said solemnly. Yes. Li Canghai bowed. On the flying boat, Yan Chuan could no longer see King Gaio's battlefield. He turned to look at Meng Hongying. Meng Hongying was still dressed in a sexy manner. She was holding a long whip and looked extremely seductive. Meng Hongying, Li Canghai has already chased away the strongest sections. I didn't expect you to stay. Are you representing the archaic sects? Yan Chuan looked at Meng Hongying. Meng Hongying looked at Yan Chuan and said coldly, Yan Chuan, although you saved me, I won't be grateful to you. I don't want you to be grateful. I just want to ask you a question. Yan Chuan shook his head. Is ZZ okay? Yan Chuan took a deep breath and asked. Meng Hongying looked at Yan Chuan with a complicated expression. After a moment of silence, she said, You still remember her. You have not let her down. Don't worry, ZZ is fine now. She is living well in the archaic sect. It's just that she often stares blankly at a comb. Comb. Yan Chuan's expression changed. Yan Chuan suddenly remembered. Comb. Could it be the comb that he had used to comb ZZ's hair twice in Carefree City? Because he had combed ZZ's hair, he had incurred the wrath of heaven. Fortunately, Miao and Tian Dingniu had saved him. Comb. ZZ had been carrying it around? Yan Chuan, I'm warning you. Meng Hongying's face darkened. Yan Chuan looked at Meng Hongying. If you dare to hurt ZZ, I, Meng Hongying, will not forgive you. Meng Hongying said ferociously. Yan Chuan looked at Meng Hongying and smiled. ZZ is my wife. This is between us. You don't have to worry about it. You. Meng Hongying glared at him. The divine sect's sacred ground is in the central divine continent, right? Since we're passing by, I'll go with you to see ZZ. Yan Chuan said solemnly. Meng Hongying finally calmed down. The world was too big, and flying was an extremely long process. In fact, it would take 1 or 2 years to fly out of the southern divine continent. Along the way to the north, everyone found a place to cultivate in seclusion. 2 years later. In the small room where Meng Hongying was. Meng Hongying slowly woke up from her cultivation. He gently closed the formation and prepared to leave the warehouse for some fresh air. Hong! A loud noise suddenly came from the outside world. Meng Hongying's expression changed as she quickly rushed to the deck. He held on to the railing and looked at the place where the loud noise came from. In the distance, a volcano erupted. The huge volcano shot up into the sky, and flames soared into the sky. The clouds in the sky were dyed red, and a rain of fire fell in all directions. Below, countless creatures were instantly affected. The beasts ran and the birds fled. Chaos ensued. Meng Hongying frowned. She quickly walked around the deck and looked around. No, I've been here before. This is the solitary volcano zone, a place filled with volcanoes. It's not the way to the divine sect's sacred ground. Meng Hongying raised her eyebrows. At that moment, Huo Guang happened to be patrolling. Huo Guang, this is not the way to the divine sect's sacred ground. What is Yan Chuan trying to do? Meng Hongying said in a low voice. Huo Guang was still polite to Meng Hongying. Chapter 755. Huo Guang smiled. Don't worry, Taoist Meng. The general route is still to the Archaean sect's sacred ground. Since the Dugu volcano region is not far away, we won't stay here for long. His Majesty has a nephew who lives here. His Majesty will continue after visiting him. Yan Chuan. Nephew? Meng Hongying asked with a strange expression. Meng Hongying was relieved after a short delay. However, the fact that Yan Chuan's nephew lived here made Meng Hongying dumbfounded. Yan Chuan has a nephew? Yes. He used to be the crown prince of the Yan state, Yan Wudi. He followed the Dugu Sword Emperor and cultivated under the Dugu clan. The Dugu clan is close to this place. His Majesty wanted to visit him when he passed by. Huo Guang smiled. Meng Hongying nodded. She then looked curiously at the main palace where Yan Chuan lived. Meng Hongying was surprised. Around the main hall Yan Chuan was in, there was a thin layer of frost forming around him. Wisps of frigid air could be felt coming from the main hall where Yan Chuan was. Huh? Huo Guang also showed a hint of curiosity. In the main hall, Yan Chuan was sitting cross-legged as he adjusted his cultivation level. Suddenly, his heaven's meridian shook. The blue thundercloud formed by the heaven-devouring Tao scripture in his meridian started shaking. As the blue thundercloud shook, it formed a huge whirlpool and absorbed the heat from all directions. Heat. The blue sky thundercloud sucked in all the heat in the hall. Suddenly, a layer of frost fell in the hall. Then, the frost on the floor of the main palace even spread outside the main palace. Heaven-devouring Tao scripture. I'm finally going to break through. Yan Chuan was overjoyed. He opened his eyes. At this moment, Yan Chuan felt like he was covered in frost and was about to freeze. It's so cold. Heaven-devouring Tao scripture. I'm just about to advance to the second stage, and I can't stand the cold anymore. What kind of cultivation technique is this? Yan Chuan said in shock. Boom. Yan Chuan pushed open the door of the main hall. He quickly rushed out. When he rushed out, he saw Meng Hongying and Huo Guang. The two of them also looked at Yan Chuan in astonishment. Yan Chuan's entire body was covered in frost and snow. His entire body seemed to have been frozen into an ice cube. Yan Chuan. What martial arts are you practicing? Ice block cultivation technique? Turn yourself into an ice cube. Meng Hongying laughed. Yan Chuan had no time to bicker with Meng Hongying. At this moment, Yan Chuan felt his body getting colder and colder. Damn it, what kind of skill is this? Suddenly, Yan Chuan saw a volcano erupting in the distance. His eyes lit up. Huo Guang, set up camp nearby. Wait for my return. Yan Chuan ordered. Yes. Huo Guang replied. Whoosh. Yan Chuan quickly flew towards the erupting volcano. During the flight, Yan Chuan became colder and colder. The surrounding air became even colder, and frost and snow fell rapidly. Wherever Yan Chuan passed, there would be snow and hail. As for Yan Chuan himself, it was just as Meng Hongying said. A human-shaped ice layer formed around him, and the ice layer became thicker and thicker. It was as if Yan Chuan was sealed in an iceberg. It's so cold. Are you trying to kill me? Yan Chuan said as his teeth chattered. Plop. Yan Chuan jumped into the volcano. The lava from the volcano suddenly froze the moment it rushed out of the crater. Crack, 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 crack. At the crater of the volcano, the lava solidified like a blooming flower. The huge erupting volcano froze in an instant. Countless fleeing creatures looked up at the sky in confusion. On the flying boat, Meng Hongying was also petrified. It's really an ice block cultivation technique. Meng Hongying said after holding back for a long time. Chapter 756. Plop. Wrapped in layers of ice, Yan Chuan jumped into the lava. The ice melted and Yan Chuan was freed from the shackles of the solid ice. However, what left Yan Chuan speechless was that just as the ice melted, the surrounding magma solidified. Furthermore, it was frozen in an instant. Blue sky thundercloud. Yan Chuan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. His figure leaped, heading deeper into the magma layer. The blue sky thundercloud crazily absorbed the heat. Wherever it passed, the magma turned into rock. 100 feet, 100 feet, 200 feet. Yan Chuan had a terrifying thought in his heart. If he kept going down until he reached the bottom of the volcano and everything solidified into rocks, how was he going to get out? He was surrounded by rocks. It was as if a mountain was pressing down on him. As he ventured deeper, the mountain grew taller and taller. If they couldn't get out in the end, it would be over. But who asked Qing Tian Lei Yun to be so abnormal? If you don't want to be frozen to death, keep going. The erupting volcano had now become an extinct volcano. Yan Chuan didn't know how deep they were underground. Just as he was feeling conflicted, he suddenly realized that things weren't as bad as he thought. The bottom of the volcano was like a gigantic communication device. Lava was everywhere, and the bottom of the volcano was excessively spacious, as if it was connected to more than one volcano. Fortunately, we've come to the Dugu volcano region this time. This is the place with the most volcanoes in the world. Yan Chuan sighed. Other divinity realm cultivators would definitely hold up an air wall or use magic treasures to barely hold on at the bottom of the volcano. However, Yan Chuan directly stuck his body against the magma. Who asked Yan Chuan to be cold? In the depths of the volcano, Yan Chuan looked at the magma around him in a daze. At that moment, Yan Chuan's clothes were burned away. He did not bring the Jade Emperor's sword and God's sword down. Yan Chuan was sitting naked in the depths of the underground volcano. Inhale. Inhale. The rolling heat was absorbed by Yan Chuan. After an unknown period of time, Yan Chuan's body suddenly rumbled. Yan Chuan's body trembled, but he was still absorbing the heat. Yan Chuan looked at the endless lava around him and smiled bitterly. My cultivation has already broken through to the third level of the deity realm, why haven't I finished absorbing the clear sky thundercloud? Yan Chuan said with a bitter smile. At this moment, red light appeared in the thunderclouds in the Shinting's aperture. The quantitative change had finally reached a qualitative change. The cyan thunderclouds gradually turned from cyan to red, becoming redder and redder. In the end, it completely turned fiery red. But before Yan Chuan could feel it, the red color suddenly receded, and then it turned green again. However, at this moment, the green clouds were gradually becoming viscous. Then, it turned into a liquid state. The second level of the heaven-devouring Tao scripture. Yan Chuan felt strange as he sensed the liquid thunder clouds. Thunder, come. Boom. A bolt of heavenly thunder appeared out of nowhere. What's the difference? Yan Chuan looked curiously at the heavenly thunder that did not become stronger. No, it changed, it changed. Yan Chuan's pupils shrank. This was deep underground. How could the heavenly thunder appear? In the past, the heavenly thunder would descend from the sky, but now, it seemed to have crossed the space barrier and appeared out of nowhere. It did not need to descend from the sky. It would appear as long as one wanted it. I became the tribulation cloud. It can descend at any time. Yan Chuan frowned and pondered. In the past, it was equivalent to using the clear sky thunder cloud to ask the heavens for permission to descend the heavenly thunder. Now, it could descend the heavenly thunder by itself. Chapter 757. Although the power didn't increase, the meaning was different. In the past, it was God's shepherd. Now, he was tribulation. Heaven-devouring Tao scripture. This is only the second level. Ha, what is the origin of this technique? Yan Chuan was at a loss. The stronger the technique, the better. However, Yan Chuan felt that this technique was no longer a matter of strength. It was strange. There was such a technique in the world. After absorbing the heat for a while, Yan Chuan felt that he could stop absorbing, so he was ready to go back. He found the crater of the volcano that he had entered before. The rocks that had been frozen were once again melted by the countless flames underground. Following the lava, Yan Chuan flew towards the sky. As he flew over the lava layer. Just as he was about to fly out of the lava crater, Yan Chuan paused. Go out? He couldn't go out. Looking at his body, his clothes had been burned clean. In the outside world, Huo Guang, Feng Yinyang, and a group of soldiers must be guarding. If he rushed out naked, what dignity of an emperor would he have in the future? It wasn't that Yan Chuan was too particular, but in his current position, he had to consider carefully. Go into the depths of the lava and find another crater? But how could it be easy to find another crater in the depths of the earth? In the vast sea of fire, who knew where the exit was? Just as Yan Chuan was hesitating, the stone wall beside him suddenly emitted waves of water vapor. TSK TSK TSK. The water vapor rose, condensed in the air, and evaporated when it fell. Yan Chuan went forward and touched it doubtfully. Underground river water. Yan Chuan's face lit up with joy. Bang! With a palm, Yan Chuan shattered the rock, and a large amount of underground river water gushed out. Bang! The river water evaporated, turning into endless water vapor that soared into the sky. As for Yan Chuan, he quickly entered the cave and followed the underground river to find another exit. Because it was close to the volcano, the water in the underground river was very hot. However, it was nothing to Yan Chuan. Sensing the flow of the water, Yan Chuan soon sensed an exit. Following the flow of water, Yan Chuan quickly rushed over. After circling around for a while, it soared into the sky. Near the mouth of the volcano, Huo Guang, Feng Yinyang, and the others waited patiently. Meng Hongying looked at the volcano and asked the 4 servants behind her, "How long has Yan Chuan been in the volcano?" Reporting to Miss, "It's been a month." "A month? Why haven't they come out yet?" "Yes. Don't get burned to death. Go and take a look. Inform me when there's news about Yan Chuan." Meng Hongying said calmly. "Yes." After sending away the 4 servants, Meng Hongying flew to a nearby valley. He took out some magic treasures and quickly set up a formation around the valley. The fog covered the valley in the blink of an eye, isolating it from the outside world. Ha, I haven't enjoyed a hot spring in a long time. I didn't expect there to be one here. Since that bastard Yan Chuan hasn't come back, I'll reward myself. Meng Hongying laughed and took off her clothes. Splash! Meng Hongying jumped into the huge hot spring and enjoyed it. The formation isolated it from the outside world. No one could enter. Meng Hongying enjoyed the hot spring alone. She was drowsy in the hot spring. After soaking for more than an hour, Meng Hongying stretched her body in enjoyment. Ice block skill. Yan Chuan is really strange. The last time I saw him, he was only in the essence state. Now, he's already in the immortal state. Establishing the Great Jin dynasty. Destroying the Great Winged Heaven School. How strange. And those 2 swords. It's amazing. Someone like him is good enough for ZZ. Meng Hongying thought. Chapter 758. ZZ already has a husband. What about me? Sigh, I hope I won't follow in my mother's footsteps. Oh my God, where is my husband? Meng Hongying mocked herself. Rumble. Just as Meng Hongying finished her sentence, the center of the hot spring started to rumble. Bang! The water in the center of the hot spring exploded. Meng Hongying's expression changed and she quickly flew away. Phew, I'm finally out. Yan Chuan's voice could be heard from the exploding hot spring water. Yan Chuan. Meng Hongying was dumbfounded. She had set up a formation outside to prevent anyone from entering. This. Whoosh. The exploding water suddenly fell back down. Yan Chuan immediately saw his surroundings. Yan Chuan immediately saw Meng Hongying. She was naked. Her snow-white skin and pink seduction. The two of them stared at each other. Yan Chuan was the first to react. He immediately came to his senses. Why is Meng Hongying here? Why is she not wearing any clothes? Yan Chuan did not have time to think. He reached out and a piece of clothing on the shore covered himself. It was Meng Hongying's clothing. Meng Hongying suddenly saw the thing in front of her move and use her clothing to cover his body. Ah! Meng Hongying immediately screamed. Miss Meng, I didn't do anything to you. You don't have to scream so miserably. Yan Chuan said with a wry smile. Meng Hongying was instantly enraged. Look again, I'll gouge out your eyeballs. Meng Hongying shouted anxiously. Yan Chuan smiled embarrassedly. Meng Hongying brought her space magical equipment and found a set of clothing for Yan Chuan. The two of them quickly put it on. After putting it on, Meng Hongying looked at Yan Chuan again. Her face turned red, then black, and then white. The two of them remained silent for a while. The situation was extremely awkward. In the end, it was Yan Chuan who spoke first. Actually, you didn't lose out. He didn't suffer any losses. Both of them were naked, and both of them had seen each other's naked body. Indeed, there was no difference between the two of them. However, could this matter be settled just like that? Bastard, Yan Chuan, I'm going to kill you. Ah. Meng Hongying was going crazy. You can't beat me. Yan Chuan also inexplicably added a sentence. Ah. Meng Hongying cried out in grief and indignation. Yan Chuan felt a little guilty when he saw Meng Hongying's grief and indignation, but it only lasted for a moment. Bastard Yan Chuan, I'll dig out your eyeballs one day. Humph, go find ZZ yourself. Meng Hongying said angrily. Boom. Meng Hongying soared into the sky, grabbed the array formation artifact and flew away. Servants, let's go. Meng Hongying shouted at her four subordinates. Oh, yes, miss. The four servants were baffled. Yan Chuan was speechless as he watched Meng Hongying leave. Coincidentally, the underground water was connected to this hot spring. It was not a coincidence, but an inevitable result. There was only one hot spring at the mouth of the volcano. The underground water must have gushed out from here. How could Yan Chuan expect Meng Hongying to take a bath at this time? While everyone was confused, Yan Chuan flew back to the flying boat and changed into a new set of clothes. On the other hand, the four servants were flying behind Meng Hongying. Meng Hongying kept muttering to herself, Bastard. Miss, who made you angry? One of them asked curiously. None of your business. Meng Hongying turned around and shouted. That person was speechless. The four servants lowered their heads silently and kept quiet. Chapter 759. Meng Hongying left. Yan Chuan summoned Hu Guang and Feng Yinyang and boarded the airship again. Although they were close to the Dugu family, there was still some distance. Yan Chuan stood on the deck of the airship as it flew. He looked around and saw many tall mountains. However, these mountains had some special features. Many of them had many words carved on them. The words looked like they were carved by a sword cultivator. The best sword cultivator in the world? Ha, what a boast. Huo Guang said as he looked at the sword carvings on the mountain. Yan Chuan shook his head and said, aristocratic families. Huo Guang, don't underestimate aristocratic families. Although aristocratic families can't be compared to countries and sects, any aristocratic family that can take root in the cultivation world is not simple. There is a rumor in the world that aristocratic families are made of iron and holy lands with flowing water. Do you know what it means to be an aristocratic family made of iron and a celestial empire made of water? Yes. Huo Guang's expression changed as he nodded. Stop. Yan Chuan raised his eyebrows. The airship suddenly stopped. Everyone looked at Yan Chuan in confusion, but Yan Chuan was looking at a mountain in the distance. There was a cave on the mountain. Unfortunately, the cave was blocked. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't have noticed it. Yan Chuan stared at the cave. Boom! The cave was also very cooperative and was instantly pushed open from the inside. While everyone was surprised, a figure slowly walked out of the cave. It was a short-haired woman in a tight robe. It's her. Feng Yinyang said in surprise. Empress? Yan Chuan called out in a deep voice. It was Empress. She was freed from the ice by Yan Chuan. Later, she helped Mo Yushi obtain the inheritance of the Dark Phoenix at the ruins of the Undying Sanctum. She also shone with Yan Chuan at the Heaven's Gift Conference. Yan Chuan won the investiture of the gods, and Empress won the Tian Su. Whoosh! In the distance, the Emperor stepped onto the flying boat. With the bronze saber on his back, he walked over and looked at Yan Chuan curiously. Yan Chuan. Why are you here? The Emperor asked curiously. That's exactly what I wanted to ask you. Yan Chuan said curiously. The Emperor's expression changed. I understand now. You're here to look for someone from the Yan family. Yan Chuan's eyes lit up as he said, just now, I also realized that I was being sensed by you, so I stopped. It seems that your bloodline is very sensitive to my Yan clan's bloodline. Are you going to the Dugu family? The Emperor curiously asked. Yes, the Dugu family. My nephew, Yan Wudi, is inside. Yan Chuan nodded. Alright, I'll go with you. The Emperor nodded. Yan Chuan invited the Emperor into the main hall. Why are you here? Yan Chuan asked curiously. I came here after the last Heavenly Bestowment Conference. The Emperor took a deep breath. Oh. It's been more than 20 years. Yan Chuan was surprised. Yes. The Emperor nodded. I came to find Dugu Butian to ask about my father's death, but Dugu Butian didn't come out of seclusion, so I kept challenging the disciples of the Dugu clan to sharpen my saber skills. Said the Emperor. Dugu Butian? He's from the same era as your father. Yan Chuan frowned. The Dugu family is also from the outside world, which is the immortal realm you speak of. However, they entered this realm earlier than us. Dugu Butian is the head of the Dugu family. The Emperor explained. Dugu Butian? Is he very strong? Yan Chuan asked. I'm not sure, but according to the rumors, he should be very, very strong. In the immortal realm, there is actually the Dugu family. They are a family that cultivates the sword. The descendants of this family seem to be born with the sword. The way of the sword is very powerful in the immortal realm. They are very famous. The Emperor recalled. Chapter 760. Yan Chuan did not interrupt and waited for the Emperor to continue his recollection. Dugu Butian. This is the name of the head of the Dugu family. However, at some point in time, a branch family appeared in the Dugu family, the head of the branch family. Dugu Butian. The branch family led by Dugu Butian became stronger and stronger. In fact, it completely suppressed Dugu Butian's branch. As a result, it was difficult for outsiders to distinguish who was the main family and who was the branch family. Dugu Butian also recognized Dugu Poshan's position. Dugu Butian's branch was weak and Dugu Poshan's branch was strong. At some point in time, Dugu Butian disappeared from the immortal world. It wasn't until my father and I entered this world together that we found out that Dugu Butian had been hiding here. The emperor took a deep breath and said, "My undying Holy Land had a good relationship with the Dugu family back then. My father has fallen. I want to ask Dugu Butian if he knows what happened back then." The emperor sighed. Dugu Butian? Dugu Butian? Yan Chuan chewed on the two conflicting names. Dugu family, apart from the head of the family, is generally divided into 9 branches. Whether it is Dugu Butian or Dugu Butian, their family is like this. One head leads 9 branches, they are called the 9 Swords branch. The emperor explained. Oh. You just said that Dugu Butian rose from the branch family of the Dugu family. Branch family? Is it one of the original 9 Swords branch? Yan Chuan asked curiously. No, I don't know the specific situation back then. I only know that when the branch family was first separated, it was also established in the form of the 9 Swords branch. The first generation Dugu Butian sent it to guard a place. As time passed, the geniuses of the branch family gushed out, causing the main family and branch family's positions to reverse. The emperor said. N. Yan Chuan nodded. The first generation Dugu Butian? What about the current Dugu Butian? Yan Chuan asked curiously. This Dugu Butian? I've only heard that this generation's Dugu Butian is also a peerless genius. When he was at the upper void realm, he once killed an immortal with his sword. When he reached the immortal realm, he became even more ferocious. Many people said that this Dugu Butian could change the situation of the Dugu family and bring the main family back to glory and suppress the branch family. However, when Dugu Butian's name was at its peak, he disappeared. The emperor frowned. He came to this world. Yan Chuan frowned. Yes. The emperor nodded. So you're saying that Dugu Butian is an immortal? Yan Chuan's expression changed. He's an immortal, but he must have sealed his cultivation. Just like my father back then, this realm doesn't allow immortals to descend unless they seal themselves. Or reincarnate. Otherwise, the heavens will send down endless calamities. The emperor explained. N. Yan Chuan nodded. You've seen my nephew? Yan Chuan asked curiously. Yes, I've seen him. He has an innate sword bone and has already unsealed it. He's now following the Dugu Sword Emperor, a disciple of the 3 Swords range. The emperor nodded. Has it been unsealed? Yan Chuan nodded in satisfaction. However, his senses aren't as good as yours. You can sense my senses, but your nephew can't. The emperor said in a low voice. He's still young. Of course he can't. Yan Chuan smiled. The emperor looked at Yan Chuan strangely. It seems that Yan Chuan and Yan Wudi are about the same age, right? The two chatted for a while. Your Majesty, we're here. Huo Guang's voice suddenly came from outside the hall. Yan Chuan and the emperor stepped out of the main hall. They stood on the deck and looked at the so-called Dugu family. From afar, a huge sword was inserted into the ground. Half of the sword's body was exposed. On the sword's body, 8 large words appeared. Dugu family. Forbidden land. Dugu family. Forbidden land? Yan Chuan was surprised. The emperor said, these words aren't exaggerated. This is indeed a forbidden land. Do you know that Dugu Butian was the most powerful person in the world 20,000 years ago? 20,000 years ago? Yan Chuan was surprised 20,000 years ago, when Dugu Butian first entered this world. At that time, after the Dugu family was established, two holy lands were fighting. This place happened to be in the middle. The two holy lands agreed to fight here. Just as the Dugu family was about to be destroyed, Dugu Butian made his first move. He killed all the Dao lords of the two holy lands with his sword alone. The world was shocked. Since then, no one dared to offend him. Dugu Butian was also very low-key. He was so low-key that he had such a large territory 20,000 years ago. Even after 20,000 years, he still had such a large territory. He didn't have any ambition to expand. It was as if he wanted to live in seclusion here. Dugu Butian rarely made a move and spent most of his time in seclusion. Therefore, no one dared to provoke him. The Dugu family also seemed to be very low-key. The emperor explained. It's not just low-key. It's been 20,000 years. What is Dugu Butian doing in seclusion? Yan Chuan looked at the sword-shaped tablet in front of him strangely. Whoosh! Suddenly, a man with a purple sword on his back charged into the sky and appeared in front of the flying boat. Who are you? The man with the sword on his back asked. Dugu Feng, don't you recognize me? The emperor said indifferently. You again, emperor. Which palace are you challenging this time? Dugu Feng's face sank. I'm not here to challenge you this time. I'm here to accompany a friend of mine to look for someone. The emperor said indifferently. Look for someone? Dugu Feng was surprised. Yan Chuan stepped forward and said, my nephew, Yan Wudi, is in the Dugu family, right? I want to meet him in a duel. Please inform him. Yan Wudi. Your nephew? Dugu Feng looked at Yan Chuan in surprise. In the end, Dugu Feng shook his head and said, my Dugu family has its own rules. Once you enter the house, you are isolated from the outside world. I won't inform him for you. Wait outside. When Yan Wudi comes out, you can meet him. Is this how your Dugu family treats its guests? Huo Guang shouted angrily. This is my Dugu family's rule. Dugu Feng said coldly. Huo Guang was about to shout again when Yan Chuan stopped Huo Guang. He turned to look at the emperor. The emperor nodded and said, the Dugu family indeed has this rule. No matter who comes, it is useless. However, there are exceptions. Dugu Feng and the others are the family guards. As long as you defeat these guards, you will be qualified to have them deliver a message for you. As long as you get permission, you can enter. What a strange rule. Yan Chuan said with a smile. I suggest you let the others stay outside. I will go in with you. The emperor said. Yan Chuan's expression changed. He suddenly thought of something and nodded. Huo Guang, station nearby. Wait for orders. Yan Chuan ordered. Yes. Huo Guang also wanted to enter, but he still obeyed the order. Chapter 761. The Dugu family's entrance. 5 Dugu family disciples with swords on their backs stood in front of the entrance. Dugu Feng stood in front of them. On the other side, only the emperor, Yan Chuan, Huo Guang, and the others were there. Yan Chuan had arranged for them to set up camp at the place where the volcano had erupted earlier. Do I still need it? The emperor asked. You've broken through many times, so you don't need it anymore. This one is called Yan Chuan. As long as you can defeat me, I'll pass the message on your behalf. Also, the Yan Wudi you mentioned has changed his name to Invincible Dugu. Dugu Feng said solemnly. Invincible Dugu? Yan Chuan frowned. Yes, the Dugu Sword Emperor taught him the Dugu family's secret technique, which was not tolerated by the other bloodlines. In the end, the Dugu Sword Emperor took Yan Wudi as his foster son. Only then did the family acknowledge him. Dugu Feng said solemnly. Yan Chuan nodded. Everything was still unclear. He had to wait until he saw Yen Wudi to ask him personally. Dugu Feng, 6th stage divine realm. Dugu Feng said solemnly. Yen Chuan, 3rd stage divine realm. Yen Chuan said solemnly. I'm going to start. Dugu Feng said solemnly. Please. Yen Chuan nodded. Dugu Feng raised his right foot and stomped on the ground with the purple longsword in his hand. The ground shook, and thousands of sword chi rushed out from the ground, heading straight for Yen Chuan. Boom! Yen Chuan's face darkened, and he swung the emperor's sword. He quickly slashed apart the sword chi. Dugu Feng took advantage of this gap and stabbed his sword. A sword energy rushed toward Yen Chuan. Just as the sword energy was about to hit Yen Chuan, ding! Yen Chuan turned his long sword, and the tip of the sword collided with the tip of the sword. Buzz! The sword chi in the surroundings dispersed with a loud bang. Good swordsmanship. Dugu Feng sighed. The sword in his hand did not stop. As he raised it and swung it, thousands of sword chi suddenly appeared in the surroundings, slashing towards Yen Chuan once more. The Dugu family? A mere guard actually has such exquisite swordsmanship. Yen Chuan exclaimed in admiration. As he took a step forward, the god's sword stabbed out once more. Instantly, thousands of white god's sword chi appeared in the surroundings. Boom! The two swords clashed once again. The sword chi cleverly clashed with the sword chi. The control of the two swords had reached a fine level. Cling! 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 Their swords moved faster and faster, and their figures blurred in the blink of an eye. The 5 guards of the Dugu family looked at the sky in surprise. They didn't expect Yen Chuan to have such a profound swordsmanship. 21st Blade. Xing! With a sword cry, the battle came to an abrupt end. In the sky, Yen Chuan's clothes were cut by Dugu Feng. However, Yen Chuan's longsword stopped at Dugu Feng's throat. It was obvious who was superior. Thank you for letting me win. Yen Chuan withdrew his sword. My skills are inferior. Brother Yan's swordsmanship. Dugu Feng praised. Yen Chuan smiled and landed on the side of the emperor. The emperor looked at Yen Chuan in surprise. Looking at the hole in Yen Chuan's clothes, he asked doubtfully, were you testing the Dugu family's swordsmanship? Yen Chuan smiled bitterly and said, you saw through it. Yen Chuan did not use his full strength. He was just testing his sword. Swords have no eyes. If you don't use your full strength, you will only put yourself in danger. The emperor said indifferently. Thank you for your advice. Yen Chuan nodded. Yen Chuan had his own plans. He didn't want to get entangled in this matter. However, the test just now had allowed Yen Chuan to feel the profoundness of the Dugu family's swordsmanship. Please wait for a moment. I will go to the 3 Swords Palace to inform them. If they permit, I will lead the 2 of you inside. Dugu Feng said. Chapter 762. N. Yen Chuan nodded. Just as Dugu Feng was about to turn around and pass the message, a voice suddenly sounded. Pass the message. Pass the message to who? Everyone looked over and saw a man in green walking out with a green sword on his back. Greetings, martial uncle. The 6 guards shouted at the same time. The emperor explained to Yen Chuan, this person is 9 Sword Hall's elder, Dugu Tianya. Yen Chuan nodded. Oh. I was wondering who it was. So it's the emperor. Why are you challenging another hall? My Dugu family isn't your sparring partner. Sabers and swords have no eyes. Last time, you were lucky to run into my 9 Sword Hall's palace master. That's why I let you off. You won't have that luck this time. A loser is qualified to comment on my battle. Last time, I didn't lose, but it was a draw. Your hall master should recuperate for at least a year. The emperor said coldly. Humph. My hall master has broken through again. If you come again, it will be your death date. Dugu Tianya said coldly. The emperor ignored him. Martial uncle, this time, it's this Yan Chuan who informed the three-sword hall to find Dugu Wudi. Dugu Feng immediately explained. Yan Chuan. Yan Wudi. Who are you to Yan Wudi? Dugu Tianya suddenly looked at Yan Chuan. What do you think? Yan Chuan didn't have a good impression of Dugu Tianya. Both surnamed Yan, then Yan Wudi is a member of your Yan family? Let me tell you, Yan Wudi is not my Dugu family's younger brother. Don't even think about touching my Dugu family's sword technique. I advise you to take Yan Wudi and get out of my Dugu family. Otherwise, no one will care when you die. Dugu Tianya said coldly. Yan Chuan copied the emperor and turned around, ignoring Dugu Tianya. He didn't even bother to reply. You! Dugu Tianya was furious. On the other side, Dugu Feng also entered the Dugu family. Not long after, two people followed Dugu Feng out. Yan Wudi and the Dugu Sword Emperor. Both of them carried swords on their backs, especially Yan Wudi. From afar, he looked like an unsheathed sword. The Dugu Sword Emperor stepped forward and said with a smile, "Ha ha ha, fellow Taoist Yan, I didn't know you were coming. Please excuse me for not coming out to greet you. Imperial uncle." Yan Wudi called out with a joyful expression as he followed behind. Dugu Sword Emperor, don't just bring anyone home. Dugu Tianya said solemnly. The Dugu Sword Emperor coldly glanced at Dugu Tianya. The matters of my Three Swords Hall are none of your business. The Dugu Sword Emperor said coldly. Please, let's talk inside. The Dugu Sword Emperor said with a smile. When the Dugu Sword Emperor was obsessed with killing the poisoner, it was Yan Chuan who helped the Dugu Sword Emperor tie the knot in his heart. Therefore, the Dugu Sword Emperor was still very polite to Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan nodded and the four of them stepped into the Dugu family. At the entrance, Dugu Tianya narrowed his eyes and looked at the backs of the four with resentment. The Dugu family was shrouded in thick fog. Therefore, it was impossible to see clearly from the outside. After walking for a short while, they arrived at a large hall. Three Swords Hall. Yan Chuan said in surprise. I'm the hall master of the Three Swords Hall. I'm in charge of the Three Swords range. The Dugu Sword Emperor said with a smile. Oh. I heard that the Dugu family has 9 ranges. I didn't expect you to be in charge of one. Sorry for the disrespect. Yan Chuan said with a smile. Fellow Taoist Yan is too polite. Actually, I'm not afraid of losing face. The Three Swords range only has the 2 of us. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been criticized by the other ranges when I taught them the sword techniques of the Invincible family. They were worried that I would teach the Three Swords range to outsiders in the future. The Dugu Sword Emperor said with a bitter smile. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.